this could take, if it, the reimbursement idea is just to give us options at the end of the day. The reality is in all of our districts on the coast, or touching the coast or in any flood-prone areas, there are hundreds of people that are affected that are looking to us and saying, well, where's my piece? Why am I not getting that? I spent all this money on the things that I would have qualified for had government not taken forever. That's what they're saying, and that's just the feedback. So this is just about giving us the options to be able to respond to them. If this is a tool we wish to avail ourselves of, well, that's something that this board can research, can debate in the future. No one's saying anyone is stopping the process. Admittedly, this could have been earlier. That it is what it is on part of the board. But I think it's about giving us options, not necessarily throwing a wrench in the process. So it gives us something to speak to our residents about. If there are funds, if the right criteria are met, then of course we can take a look at this as another tool. That's all I had to say. All right, seeing none, no one else, you can cast your votes. Oh, yeah, sorry, so Ms. Struck, thank you, Commissioner Ballard. Yes, but get with Stephanie and the team here, and I mentioned this last time as well. They'll be able to provide you with more detail about whether this applies to condos and your roof and some of the roads there in particular, because you're my district, so I want to provide the connection there. Yeah, they'll connect you to there. Thank you very much. That passes unanimously. Why don't we take a 10-minute break, and we'll be right back. Now we are back. We're going to start with natural resources, item 34, execution of the temporary use agreement to allow Manatee County to use the sovereign lands and water column adjacent to the Cortez Marina. Director
Mr.
Hunsaker.
Charlie Hunsaker, Director of Natural Resources Department. Mr. Chairman, County Attorney, this is a pretty straightforward item that continues our rights conveyed when we acquired the property to utilize the area for marina purposes. Obviously, we're still planning on the types of marina activities that will be suitable for the property that we can bring forward for your consideration. But this action continues our rights to be able to use those properties for on-water activities. It's pretty much straightforward as that.
All right, Commissioner McCann.
I just have one question on cost. There's something in there, lease cost?
Yes,
So
sir.
are we leasing something, and how much does that cost?
All right. Typically, submerged lands are, as property of the state, are rented to a holder, a leaseholder. When you are a for-profit company, the profits that you earn utilizing the state lands are paid back to the state in terms of a lease payment, calculated on size or number of slips, for instance. However, public entities like Manatee County, if we are providing a public purpose for the marina services, or if we intend to keep the funds that we earn from slip rentals working towards the improvements of that specific property, we do not pay a lease payment to the state of Florida.
Okay, so there is no lease payment.
There's no lease payment as long as Manatee County holds the lease and utilizes the property for a public purpose.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I don't have questions. Thank you, Charlie. I appreciate you bringing this forward. My understanding is the state just doesn't give these away anymore. You have to have a lease for this based on our conversations for the public. Otherwise, you end up with some interesting situations out there with submerged lands and creative things people do with uses people have for them. So I'll accept any public comment on this item. I don't see anyone on the phones, no one in person. I'll close public comment and I'll accept motions to approve the temporary use agreement.
So moved.
I'll
Second.
Commissioner Ballard. That's a motion to approve the execution of the temporary use agreement by Commissioner Ron, seconded by Commissioner Ballard. You can cast your votes. All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We'll go on to item number 35, adoption of resolution R26025, execution of the lease agreement with the Friends of the Pelicans, Inc., for the property located at 305 25th Street West, commonly known as the Palmetto Animal Shelter. We'll go to our staff first for a presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Charlie Hunsaker, with the honor to make some opening remarks relative to the origin of these thoughts. It became evident to us as the Palmetto Animal Shelter was going to be closed that an opportunity existed to retain this property and its fixtures for a nonprofit purpose to support the rescue of harmed flight birds, including pelicans, that each day are subject to entanglement, capture, and death on our waterways. This organization has been in existence for many years, and they've always lacked a home for which these rehabilitation and recovery can take place. And we felt the proximity of the Palmetto Animal Shelter to the Sunshine Skyway, where most of the fatalities happen, was an ideal trade, an ideal exchange of a former public use to a nonprofit benefit use, truly for the wildlife of this area. As a Natural Resources Director and as a Natural Resources Department, this was close to my heart to ensure that, given the opportunity, we could convey, with your blessing, the rights to be able to use this property for this specific purpose. And I believe it's a win all around. I do have Jeanette Edwards, who is the director of the Save Our Seabirds organization, along with many of her friends and colleagues. But Jeanette has a few remarks to be made on opening this idea.
Come ahead, Ms. Davis. Just state your name, county of residence.
Yes. Hello. Hi, my name is Jeanette Edwards, and I am the founder of Friends of the Pelicans. I want to thank you so much for this opportunity to lease this property for a seabird rehabilitation facility. This is something we have desperately needed since starting our work on the Skyway Fishing Pier in 2021. We rescue over 1,000 birds a year, with most of them needing to go into rehab. In 2021, our first year on the Skyway, we rescued over 1,500. And right away, we realized that we needed a seabird facility in Manatee County. I stood right here in 2022 and talked to the commissioners about the problems at the Skyway and the need for a facility in Manatee County. And then I had several meetings with some of the commissioners then and the staff, but it was not until 2024 that this possibility came about. To have a seabird facility that is 10 minutes from the Skyway fishing pier would be incredible. Right now, we have to transport a pelican 1 hour north or 1 hour south to get the help they need. Sometimes we have to go to the Peace River Wildlife Center, which is a 3-hour commitment from a transporter in Manatee County, or 4 hours for someone in Pinellas County. Not only is this a huge burden on our transporters who are volunteers, but it's very difficult on our seabirds as well. We have had many days where we were turned away from all 3 facilities and had to find a place to keep the pelicans overnight, praying that they would survive. And often, more than once, they did not make it until the morning. I simply can't stress enough how much this is needed. We literally fill up the facilities in Sarasota and Pinellas County, and they repeatedly have to turn us away to take care of the birds from their counties. We must ask for permission, and I have a text from the rehab in Pinellas County who had to turn us away, and it said, and I quote, "Right now we have 51 of your birds in our hospital and rehab pen." The rehabber in Sarasota County, when I asked them when we were turned away where they get most of the pelicans, wondering where that hot spot was for them, he said, "You." So this facility would not only help our seabirds and our transporters and reduce the burden placed on these other facilities, but it would also be great for Manatee County and the entire state of Florida. The Skyway fishing piers are the epicenter for all of these migrating birds who come here from all over the world. We have the common loon, which comes here from Canada, and the little ruddy turnstone, who we regularly rescue on the Skyway. They come here from the Arctic tundra of North America and Greenland. Our brown pelicans migrate here from North Carolina, South Carolina, and even Virginia. To have a seabird facility in Manatee County would increase community involvement, and it would be a huge benefit, not only to this commission, but to the entire state of Florida. So I just want to thank you again for this opportunity, and we look forward to partnering with you to make this facility a benefit, not just to the community, but to our county and to the state of Florida. Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, our appreciation and gratitude actually to Carrie Knight, Charles Metter, and of course Peter Morrow and his staff, Caitlin, who worked tirelessly to bring this lease together as an option and opportunity to continue their use of the property while this group works to obtain a full land development code approval for permanent possession of the property. And Peter is here, of course, to answer any questions relative to the lease that you may have.
All right, I have commissioners on the board. Did you have something to present? Okay, I'll start with Commissioner McCann.
I think it's a wonderful thing, to be able to take care of the birds and stuff like that. But some constituents brought some things to me that, I said I would ask. One of the things is, was this lease contemplated? Was there a timeline on this lease? And, with this timeline that actually set forward, did it have anything to do with emptying that shelter with the dogs?
Peter Morrow, Property Acquisition Division Manager. The lease is, the term of the lease is through March 31st of 2027. As far as the other question, I wouldn't have any information on that.
I can offer an explanation. There wasn't a connection. I know that to be the case because we were hoping to move in earlier in 2025, and we were pledged to wait until all dogs and all properties had been cleared from the property, and then bring this forward to you.
Okay, great. That should clear up their concerns on that. As far as this, we are still maintaining the property. It still belongs to the county then?
It does still belong to the county. However, the lease does put maintenance of the property on the Friends of Pelicans to maintain. The only thing that the county will still maintain is the ditches. Other than that, all maintenance of the property, all costs of the property will fall to Friends of the Pelicans.
Okay, thank you very much.
Commissioner Cruz.
Yeah, I'm just happy this day is finally here. I've been on this board since late 2020. I remember when we had a lot of talk about the hooks and everything else out there. I mean, you all have been very proactive in meeting with commissioners. I've always enjoyed my meetings with you and always appreciated what you've been doing. And this is something that's been contemplated for quite some time. Once we took over Bishop and started figuring out the next step for the dogs and the animals at Palmetto, this conversation started. So it's long overdue. I'm glad this day is finally here. It's unfortunate some people were trying to derail it recently, making accusations about the property itself, which is ironic. Those same people were trying to convince us to keep dogs and volunteers there just 3 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden it was a death trap nobody should be in, which was wholly ridiculous with counterproductive reasons. But I'm glad this is happening. I think you guys are going to do great things with this property. I agree. It's the proximity to what you need to do is tremendous. It's going to allow you to help way more birds, and with the governor talking about a new fishing pier and everything else up there, I believe your work is going to get bigger, not smaller, in the coming years. And hopefully by the time that comes, you'll have this up and running and ready to go, and it'll be a great location for you. And I'm just happy that we could take an existing facility at the county and repurpose it for another good use, not just take it down and have vacant land or a blighted property, that it can be used by someone who can appreciate it and use it for everyone's benefit. So thank you very much, and I fully support this.
Commissioner Ron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, along with Commissioner Cruz's comments, I 100% support this. We've had opportunities to meet several times, and if anybody's familiar with the Pelican Man down in Sarasota, and he's just that facility's overwhelmed with the amount of birds that have to be rescued. So I'm so glad that we're doing this. I'm so glad we're repurposing this building for what you guys need to do. You guys are a phenomenal organization that goes out and saves these birds that need to be saved, rehabbed, or medically treated. So, again, I 100% support this, and thank you guys for being here today. And thank you for being nice and quiet for us today, too. We appreciate that.
Thank you. Just for the record, there is on the screen a motion by Commissioner Cruz to approve the adoption of R-26025, seconded by myself. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Ballard.
Thank you so much for bringing this forward. I'm so excited to see this, Jeanette. I remember when we toured the facility back in, what was it, 2024 probably, when we were first considering it as an option. And I think that the work that you do for our wildlife, for our birds, is so important. I think it's under-recognized. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm actually kind of a bird nerd, so I'm amazingly excited to see this come forward. And yeah, I am. And maybe come 2027, I can come and help volunteer now that things will be close by for me. So this is really exciting. Thank you.
No, thank you, and to our staff and team, thanks for working together, and to Friends of the Pelicans, thank you for waiting this long. I felt confident in our conversation last year. Thank you again, to reiterate Commissioner Cruz's comment, for being proactive. And I felt confident that you all can apply for grants. We had that conversation about maintenance of the property, and I think you have the capability to do that. So I'm not too worried there. And I think this is a great way to reuse the property for the rehabilitation of other animals. So it'll be very nice. And I thank you very much for the work you do, so best of luck there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also neglected that this lease came through not only through the property management's good efforts, but with the assistance and guidance from our county attorney and her staff. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Pamela. All right, I'll turn it over to the public. Any public comment in person on the item? You can go ahead and sit down, ma'am.
My name is Julie Madison, and I'm a Manatee County resident. The first thing that I do want to say is that I am very happy for them if they do get this facility. But the concerns at Palmetto have been long documented between mold, ventilation, bad plumbing, flooding, drainage. To bring those concerns up to them is not me trying to sabotage them, just to make sure that they understand what they're moving into. As You know, that's why we had to move the dogs out of Palmetto and why it wasn't good enough to fix up. And we also have some severe concerns into the facility that we're moving into that are also valid and justified and that we'll be talking about later. As I said, I really hope that they do get it, because it seems like it fits their needs well. That being said, we're still going to have to address the things with the dogs. Thank you for your time.
All right, I'll go to the phones. Start with caller 441.
Good morning again, Anthony Shulo, Manatee County. I just wanted to call in to support this project. I'm super excited to see that you're reusing that space for, I think, what's quintessentially one of the most Florida things you can think about besides the manatee in Manatee County is the seabirds in our area. So I do have some experience working with these folks previously in finding some and responding to seabird activity on towers, range towers in and around the Tampa Bay. And they were always great advocates. They would reach out to us and we would find a solution to hopefully reduce the number of dead birds that we would have on certain structures throughout the bay. So it's a great group of folks. I'm happy to see them getting into that property and doing some wonderful things. And just to reiterate how many birds are actually sort of dying or getting injured at the Skyway. I mean, just as recently as yesterday, I had to dispose of 2 dead seabirds right at the Skyway. It's great that we're able to rehabilitate more animals with this use. So thank you guys for taking on that property to do that. It's really exciting stuff.
Thank you, sir. Go to caller 800. To state your name, county of residence, you have 3 minutes.
Yeah, hi, my name's David Daniels, Nancy County. First of all, I am 100% behind this. And I think it's unfortunate that Commissioner Stark's comments with trying to paint animal advocates as against this. I don't know of any animal advocates that is against this. And I'm so appreciative to hear the enthusiasm of the board for saving birds and the trouble that they get into with the fishing line. I hope that the new Citizens Advisory Board can make being proactive, helping these birds a priority. I'd like to see some signs out in the Skyway and other places, an ordinance that prohibits abandoning fishing line, cutting fishing line. This is good news 100% all the way. Thank you.
All right, caller 454.
Charlene Dow, Manatee County. First thing I want to say is that I really appreciate the fact that we're making a really productive use of this building, and the cause is extremely valuable, and I want to thank you all for reaching out and getting this done. The only comment I would like to add is to reiterate some of the points that were said, that there's no need to ridicule people who have been advocating for the issues with the shelter, because I mean, yeah, there's going to be more discussion about it, but the reason why that they're concerned is because those conditions are pretty bad in that building, and right now it's felt like there are issues that are rushed. But it's really just don't try to humiliate people. That doesn't help the conversation. Everybody up there supposedly pledged to be respectful on the dais. Don't do that. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Caller 989.
Hi, this is Linda Werner from Manatee County, and I am all for the Pelican Group having to lease the Palmetto Adoption Facility. I follow them on Facebook. I'm looking forward to being able to volunteer there. I'm super excited about that. However, I don't think the timing is right. They've waited a long time. It would be great if they could wait a little bit longer until we get the dog situation resolved, and to make sure that the dogs are in a safe place and the pelicans are in a safe place. Please don't pit the animal advocates against each other. the dog advocates support the Pelican people, and I am sure they support the dog advocates as well. So let's work in this together and be a team for Manatee County and for all the animals of Manatee County. Thank you.
All right, thank you. There's no one else on the phone. I'll close public comment. Commissioner Cruz. Okay. All right, then, everyone, the votes have been cast. That passes oh, no, it didn't. No, passes unanimously. There we go. Thank you very much. Best of luck. We'll save some pelicans. All right. Next up, Development Services, item 36, report on environmental compliance field solutions, follow-up to item 50 from the April 7th meeting. Ms. Knapp.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Nicole Knapp, Development Services. We're here today to provide the board with an update on our environmental compliance endeavors. And this is in response to Commissioner McCann's agenda item from April 7th, but also a follow-up back to September 16th. During board had discussion on that day as well. So if I step back to September 16th, after a presentation was made by the Myakka River Coordinating Council, the board had a healthy conversation about development services and natural resources and what we could be doing better. And some of those things were our monitoring, our enforcement, increasing our inspections, increasing our coordination between our departments and other agencies, increasing land acquisition and conservation easements. But the comments on that day, September 16th, were that we do it within the confines of what we had for staffing levels then, whether it was our existing staff prior to the budget being adopted or any positions approved as part of the budget. During that conversation in September, at least 3 commissioners asked us to stay within the confines of that, but also evaluate the endeavors for 6 to 12 to 18 months first, whatever that would be, and determine if we could do it adequately. Say after 6 months of monitoring, we knew we didn't have enough staff, then we would have to come back with data and metrics to support that. Let's see here. And so I know that feels like September was a long time ago, and it was in some parts of our world, but not in the reality of land development. And so we posted the positions over the fall that Development Services had previously in their approved budget, and got those 2 new candidates on board by the first Monday of January, and we are only 3.5 months into that, evaluating our endeavors of what we could do better. And let me also add that while the discussion on September 16th was in response to the protection of the Myakka River, the discussions failed from the board side to evolve that we do our endeavors specifically for some sort of overlay area. So the report, Denise is going to step forward next and give you a little report on what we have been doing, unless you want to ask questions instead. And it will be countywide. It won't be for a specific area of the county, because that's not the direction we received from the board. So I'm going to turn it over to Denise now, unless you have questions.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. So just a little bit more background. So when we went into the budget hearings, we had requested another tech for the environmental planning division. And that one was approved, but that was, we knew we needed that just because of what we were currently doing. We were able to, once we got the directive to work within the confines of what we had, we were able to take another position. Actually, we took a total of 3 positions, another tech. We were able to add a team lead position and develop a new division manager position. So what we did was we took 3 existing positions that we already had in the department. We looked at those, see how we could change them, and we were able to develop a 3rd tech, the division manager, and the team leader that would be over the techs. And we did that with 3 existing positions with an overall 0 net increase in salaries. Okay, so we were able to do that first. So then we were able to hire the 2 new additional techs around the first of the year. We got them started with all the training that they would need. We've met with natural resources to see what we could do together as a team. We've also looked at infrastructure inspections to see how we can help them. And it'll allow us to be more involved in the construction process and do more drop-in inspections, not just the inspections that we would typically do. We've had numerous interdepartment trainings with natural resources, including the well management plan trainings, water quality testing, and instrumentation education. We all went to that since we didn't have a section manager in the role at that present time. I myself went to those trainings too, so we've all gone through those trainings. We just were able to get all the equipment we needed. They were actually on a back order at Amazon, but we have all those now, so we can take those out. All the techs have been certified through the FDEP Florida Stormwater Erosion and Sediment Control Inspector certification. Our existing tech already had that certification, as well as the team leader and myself. We all have those certifications. Some of the staff have gone out and done the gopher tortoise relocation and recipient site education with natural resources, but that was only a couple. They didn't want to take the whole team out at once. So we have been doing a lot of training, but we're out there. We're doing drop-in inspections. And we hope that this will give the community a sense that we do want to be present. We want to be seen out there. And they know that we care about the waterways and the issues that we had out in Mayaca. But this is countywide, not just in Mayaca. So I'll let you ask any questions.
I'm on the board, no one else, and then we have a hand raised. First of all, thank you for the update. Just so I understand, so the narrow portion of what you oversee and report on and enforce that's pertaining to our comprehensive plan, so you're focusing on erosion control, I heard monitoring, watching for that, I guess, as I understand it, and then watching for gopher tortoises. Is that the extent of at least the Maca portion of, trying to understand what are we actually watching out for and enforcing here? I'm just curious.
Well, our team, what we mainly deal with is existing construction that's in the area.
Okay.
Natural Resources have their different, and I think Charlie's here, he can speak to that. But so we're going to be out there looking for anybody who's constructing and has an approved permit to be building houses, golf courses, whatever's out there. We're going to be out there making sure that there are erosion controls in place and they're not impacting any waterways that are in the area.
Good. And then the enforcement mechanism are what? Fines, fees? Just curious if you can clarify
Or
that.
stop work orders
Okay.
is a good one. It kind of hits them hard. So we try to work with them. And most contractors, when they're notified, they will get out there and they will rectify the situation.
Got it. No, I think that's a good thing, especially looking at it countywide. There are many concerns across all our waterways for many of these issues, maybe like gopher tortoises in my area, but other issues as well. So thank you for that. Anyone else from the board with questions, comments? Commissioner McCann.
Okay, I think there was a motion on the 16th to approve and create a plan. You know, we didn't officially authorize any final hiring or funding for any at any specific meeting. But the motion made by Commissioner Feltz at the time was actually to protect the Mayaca River. And the motion directed county staff to evaluate recommendations from the Mayaca River Management Council and develop a plan including the necessary budget funding and personnel to improve the monitoring of the river. Okay, it didn't say, you know, she wanted 2 additional staff people to do that specifically. Okay, that wasn't voted on for 2 specific people, but at that time, I believe we had a hiring freeze in place. We were talking about not hiring anybody else, and now we're bringing 2 people in, okay, under this guise of this motion, And the people in District 1 feel that there's been a bait and switch. We hired just to expand the staff and not to actually monitor the river. So, you know, how do we explain to the people of District 1 that there is no bait and switch here?
Commissioner, I went back and listened to the meeting so I could refresh myself, and the motion that was intended is not the motion that was approved, because Commissioner Cruz brought up Senate Bill 180, and the limits of what Commissioner Feltz would have been proposing would have been more burdensome to create an overlay. We didn't add more staff. At the time of September 16th, we were already a week before budget being adopted. Development Services already had all these positions that were funded by the board on the books. I didn't add any more after that. We just reclassed from other, we found a ways to make another efficiency so we could actually increase the staff in this area.
Phelps made the motion. She proposed 2 additional staff specifically dedicated to monitoring the river and inspecting development sites to ensure compliance with environment and erosion standards. The board voted 6-0 with Commissioner Sadiq absent to approve that motion and get a formal plan. So, you know, these 2 people that were hired now for this aren't doing what that motion was and aren't doing what we actually voted on, 6-0.
I can go back and pull the transcripts, and we'll have to come back in front of you then. I don't have an answer today for that.
Okay. I appreciate that, and I would like that to come back. Do we need a motion to make that come back?
No, as I heard, staff are going to review the meeting, go back to that original motion as made, and then come back based upon that.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. No one else from the board? Commissioner Ballard?
Yeah, I'd like to make a quick comment. So just from my perspective, if that was exactly what was voted on, that's fine. But from my perspective, we also have a lot of other environmentally sensitive waterways, and we need to be monitoring throughout the county. I have the Braden River and the Manatee River throughout my district, and I would like them to be monitored as well. And I would like that development to be monitored in District 2 as well as District 3, just, you know, all of them. But just as a feature of where development is happening right now, I think that they will spend most of their time in District 1.
Commissioner Cruz?
Yeah, just to be clear, you did go back and watch this, right? Like what you're saying, like this isn't reading from an email that someone sent us. You watched the meeting, and like it maybe let's hypothetically say that what is being stated is correct. I find it hard to believe. I mean, what you're telling me is this board voted, the implication was this board voted to hire not 1, but 2. Sarasota has actual protection. Real federal level protection we don't have at this point and can't have at this point. But Sarasota has 1 person who, per an article I read, once a month takes a kayak down the river. We hired 2 people and have no protection rights whatsoever, and the intention was we hired 2 people to permanently sit on lawn chairs on private property and stare at water, and double the number of people Sarasota has. Like, I find this incredibly hard to believe, and if I was a taxpayer, I would be furious if you told me you hired 2 full-time people during a hiring freeze when we're like making our transit run less so we don't have to hire bus drivers. But we hired 2 people to take turns once a month taking a kayak down a river to effectively do very little because we don't have the protection rights for them to tell the private property what to do. There's a reason to have these people here. I agree with the reason. I agreed with Commissioner Feltz's rationale behind it. But I do not recall the vote being to hire 2 full-time people, pay their benefits, pay all of their overhead and installs to take turns kayaking. This was like, there's lots to Commissioner Ballard's point. There's lots of things they can do. To make some claim that we hire people to stare at one river is a complete dereliction of duty in terms of our oversight of taxpayer dollars at a time where we're trying to lower taxpayer dollars. And even if we accidentally did hire 2 people just for this budget season, I would make a motion to have them do something else as well, because I don't want them sitting around for 29 days twiddling their thumbs, waiting for the next time they stare at the water.
If I may, Commissioner, this is similar to that conversation that day when I watched it back. Mr. Bishop Charlie Hunsaker and myself all said, if you could give us time to evaluate within the confines of what staff we had, what we could do. And that's when then Commissioner Bearden said, yes, he would like to see a 6 or a 12-month or 18-month follow-up, whatever would be appropriate. And if we felt we needed more, to come back then with the data and metrics to support that we needed more. And we hadn't done that yet because we're barely 3.5 months in to evaluating whether we need more.
Sure, and I think the intent of the hires is a good one, because we do need to be overseeing this, but we need to be overseeing a lot, to Commissioner Bauer's point. We have a lot of waterways, and there's runoff into all of them, and there's nitrates going into all of them, and there's people encroaching, and we had a conversation a few years ago about mangroves being cut too much. There's lots of things, and a couple of people with the proper resources can oversee a lot of it, because all this water is interconnected at the end of the day. So it doesn't help Myaca if other rivers are getting, destroyed because all of our attention's staring at one river. That's not best use of tax dollars. So I'll go back and watch as well. I don't recall. I find it hard to believe this board, during a hiring freeze discussion, voted to hire 2 full-time people for such a specific job. But yeah, I think you guys are doing a great job listening to this board. I think we did hire people, bring people in that are experts to oversee things. I think we're honoring what we were attempting to do. I just don't think what we're attempting to do is a full-time job. And so we have to make sure we're using best use of our employees' time and resources.
Commissioner McCann.
So it sounds like what's being said here is we were going to give them 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, whatever it was, to reevaluate that. And it seems to be mixed with, Commissioner Phelps' desire to have these 2 people. So since you're only 3 months into this, why did we hire the 2 people? Why didn't we have this evaluation done, all this stuff, come back 6 months? We had a hiring freeze at the time. You said that this was already on the books, but it was still frozen. So the thing is, if we didn't hire them for Commissioner Phelps' intended purpose, why did we hire them at all?
Before being in front of the board in September, there had already been some preliminary discussions with Commissioner Phelps in August, off the top of my head, roughly late August. At that time, I had already proposed to have another planning and zoning tech in our environmental planning team, minus or ahead of all this conversation. So when I say that we hired 2 new techs, it's because one was planned and the other one we pulled from another area because we found an efficiency following the September 16th conversation. When you all asked us to work within the confines of what we had, we looked for efficiencies in the department. And so that's why we then hired the 2 positions in environmental planning. So we didn't add anything that wasn't already there.
But it was during a hiring freeze, and it was under the understanding that this was Commissioner Phelps that brought that. I agree that all of the waterways need to be monitored. I agree that all that stuff is happening. But again, the thing is that right now, how do I tell people this is not a bait and switch?
And this wasn't during a hiring freeze because I posted these positions in October immediately after the budget was adopted. It just took until the December 29th and January 5th for them to start and us to find candidates. But they do more than that. We have Florida statutes. We're mandated by Florida statutes to have our reviews done in a certain amount of time. These people, when not in the field, are doing those reviews to help with those timelines. So they'd be a critical position.
We are live right now so that the people of District 1 can hear, correct? That's all I have.
Okay. I'm up. I pulled the meeting minutes, so pardon me for a second. The county attorney was going to do this too. So just to be all official about this, I guess, this is a document on the clerk's website, BC 2025-09-16 doc DOC 0012. It's the last item, pulling up the second to last bullet for that item. A formal motion was made by Commissioner Phelps to direct staff to come up with a budget, funding for the budget, and personnel that we need to do the job better than we have been doing it, and make sure that we are taking into account water quality standards, the environmental standards, that we should have been doing all along. The motion was seconded by Commissioner Cruz. That's what the meeting minutes say. So I'll just say that's not great direction. It also comes after a budget process. I think there should have been perhaps a follow-up. Here we are. So I think it's just not it's not very clear. Perhaps we just follow up with this in another, or we just have this discussion now a little bit more in detail about what exactly this board wants to do. What are the funding mechanisms? Are you using building fees, for example, because development, okay, no. I think this just needs better direction and clear direction, because there's a lot that's been said about Mayaca River protections. There's federal layers, there are state layers, there are preemptions preventing us from doing certain things. And then now we're talking about doing some type of assessment, analysis, enforcement actions across all waterways, which is clearly beyond the scope of, or maybe, actually maybe not, based on this motion. There is no real scope for this. So I think this just needs clarification from this board before we debate with staff. This is just not a very clear motion. Commissioner Cruz.
I fundamentally disagree with that assessment. I think this is the exact motion. I think staff did exactly what we wanted. I think we're starting to encroach on overstepping our statutory rights. We do not hire staff. We do not pick staff. We do not determine staff. We pick a budget and give direction on policy. The budget was what we handed to Nicole and her team, of which they can use to the most efficient means possible for the good of Manatee County. The policy we set was we would like better oversight on our rivers and waterways, inclusive of and a special focus on Mayaca River. Now we direct the county administrator and his directors to determine how best to enact that policy based upon the budget we gave them. Hard stop. That's our job up here on this dais. To keep pretending we have more oversight on a nitpicky day-to-day basis is just factually incorrect. If they believe hiring 2 people to handle multiple things around the county, one of which being set to the policy that was enacted by Commissioner Feltz, then that's on them, and that's what they're doing with the budget we've given them. To keep saying we need more specifics and we need to hire 3 people who are at least 5'8" and they do this and they're out there 7 hours a day and they need a blue kayak is not our job. It's their job. And we're not even giving them time to prove that they were capable of doing their job, because it just happened 90 days ago. And now people are saying, why isn't Bill and Ted sitting on their chairs looking at the river today? I drove by and they were looking at a different river. Like, give them time. And if there's problems, if we start hearing about meaningful problems at Mayaca, then we can have a follow-up discussion about continuing monitoring or better sense of monitoring. But we are doing our job. And being more specific on that motion is now taking a step beyond where these motions should be on this board. I believe staff, I believe the county administrator are doing exactly what the intent of that motion is for. And I do not see anything further, other than maybe saying, hey, it would be nice every 90 days or 180 days based upon the motion and the discussion to get an update, to see if anything has been uncovered based upon these 2 people looking at our waterways, so that we can potentially make modified policy discussions based upon what was uncovered once we give them adequate time to uncover it.
Okay. Staff have a very narrow direction of, and I think this board has an unhealthy habit in the past of going beyond the means of motions and directing staff. And that's led to cases where even staff are directed in emails and phone calls to do things for commissioners outside of direction. So I'll disagree with quite a bit of what was said. Staff have to refer to the motion, to the language, especially development services, when you have commissioners yelling at them to approve permits or go after people with signs in their yards for code enforcement. This is a consequence of poor discipline on part of a board. And so I think where other departments are generally more open to comments and working with board members, I think development services is a little bit different given the history. So I think that ought to be recognized and not glossed over. Now, the discussion, looking at the minutes, again, because this isn't, you do need explicit direction. Yes, there were conversations about Mayaca River protections. Yes, there were requests to budget 2 positions. All those things were part of the discussion. But the way I read this motion, and again, just me, I work at the will of a board here, the motion was to essentially come up with this budget, funding for it, identify personnel, and not really much beyond that. I mean, I really think this should have come back to the board at some point before moving forward. I don't disagree with the assertion that we shouldn't just have two staff kayaking in a river. Maybe we have them with a drone or doing something. I'm not saying they are, but I mean, words matter. We shouldn't just say our staff are kayaking down a river. I think the appropriate next step is you just come back to us and just clearly explain what it is that we're doing, what are we enforcing, with what. The staff, as commented by Commissioner McCann, I do think there's some more detail we need here. And then just trust you to do your jobs at the end of the day. These are the standards that you all are working to enforce day in, day out. Everybody knows, up here knows what the hell they're talking about when it comes to the standards you're enforcing. So I think it's important that we give you the space to do it. But I do think this board and the public, given demand, wants a little bit more clarification. And I think that's really what we're just asking for here. I get the knee-jerk, perhaps, to want to do something quickly, especially with board direction. But I will say let's take a breather and come back to us with what are you actually doing here, and then we can take it from there. So there's no confusion there, Ms. Knapp.
If
And
you
then
listen
McCann.
to the record from that day, there is all the discussion about all that, which was clear that we do that. We evaluate it for 6 to 12. There was a comment about 18. I don't think we would have needed 18 months, but I'd like to ask the board if we can come back on June 16th. That's about 5 months. And at that time, lay out the plan of what Development Services does, what Natural Resources does, what other agencies do that aren't ours, and what we're able to do with those positions, and how we're doing them well. And that'll be about a 5-month look at the, doing our job better, is what was said back in September.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Commissioner McCann.
I'll wait for that to happen again. There was a hiring freeze definitely in that overlay period that we're talking about. But the thing is that, I'm just going to take myself off the board, and I'll wait for you to come back in 5 months.
Thank you. And just to clarify, the hiring freeze is this year. This motion was last year, so wasn't quite there in effect. But again, just wanted to thank you very much for the work on this. It's obviously a highly, it's a very polarizing topic, lots of debate, but I appreciate the work you guys are doing to protect not just the Mayaca River, but all of our watersheds. So let's take a breather, give us an update later, and I look forward to that. Thank you. Public comment on the item here. There wasn't really an action, so I'll just take public comment. Yeah. And we have a hand on the phone. I'll get to you there. Ma'am, come on up.
Heidi Manikheim, Manatee County resident, Mayaca City activist. I want to thank everybody for getting this in motion, because I live on the bottom of the river. And I agree with Amanda Ballard that we do need to not just monitor the Mayaca River, all the waterways. It's very important. Going forward, I would hope that we do something soon with the Mayaca River. I know that we keep hearing SB 180, SB 180, but when our river is polluted and the turbidity, since the golf courses, both monstrosity golf courses have gone in. We have turbidity and we have bacteria in our water that we didn't have before, because the Sarasota County, I live right on the edge, they monitor that end of it. You can go in and read all of their reports of what the water is. If you've been up the Mayaca River, those two golf courses have built up the edges, so there's no more floodplains. It's concerning for me as a resident. I live at the bottom. What are you guys going to do for us when they flood us out? Everybody sits up here, just high and mighty, but nobody is going to do anything. We need to have this monitored. This should have been monitored when these golf courses were allowed to come in. These golf courses should not have been, two of them, pinching the river. We have had complaints. Just the little bit of rain we had the past, 2 weeks ago, us at the end, we had excessive amounts of water. The Triangle Ranch was underwater. Not that anybody really cares up here because you don't live out east, but god darn, you flood me out, I told you before, you're never going to see the end of me. I've never flooded before, and I know that what's going on, there's no monitoring of what's going on in the river. And I don't care about SB 180. You people up here were hired to take care of us residents first, including you, George. I'm going to look right at you as you make your commentary afterwards. You need to take care of us residents first before all of this disgusting stuff is going on the river. Protect us. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go to the phones. Caller 311.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lindsay Lee, Manatee County. For the record, the public doesn't expect 2 employees to stand around and stare at the river. It's like one extreme to the other here, and the mockery is quite ridiculous. I want to start with something that feels very obvious to those of us who actually live along this river. Protecting our river is not a function of development services, and yet that's exactly where this has been placed. That alone should raise concern. When the same department responsible for permitting and facilitating development is now overseeing compliance for that development, it creates an inherent conflict of interest. You cannot effectively regulate what you're simultaneously incentivized to approve. What we were originally shown by the late Commissioner Phelps and what she advocated for was something very different. It included stronger oversight, clearer accountability, and a structure that actually prioritized the protection of the Myakka River Basin as a natural resource. So this is a very clear bait and switch here, and there are 0 metrics. We are being told that these new hires, as if that is alone like some sort of magical solution, but adding personnel without changing policy and without strengthening protections and without independent oversight does not solve the problem. It gives the appearance of action without there being any action actually being taken. Meanwhile, the reality on the ground hasn't changed. The Myakka River does not recognize county lines. It's a connected living system that cannot be protected in pieces. If we continue to allow development decisions to outpace environmental protections, we're not managing growth. We're sacrificing one of our most valuable natural resources in this county. So my question is simple. If development services is writing the rules, approving the projects, and policing itself, then who is actually protecting our river? This right here feels like we're being asked to accept optics instead of outcomes. And we're not asking for anything unreasonable. We're asking for transparency and accountability and real protections that match the significance of our river system. The Myakka is not another box to check under development services. It is something worth protecting with intention and integrity. Thank you.
All right, no one else on the phone. I'll close public comment. Commissioner Cruz.
Yeah, I will comment because I watch a lot of Florida Channel, but I didn't see anybody up in Tallahassee arguing about Senate Bill 840, and I probably would guess that not many people even called their local representatives and senators about it. Everyone keeps saying bait and switch. No, we didn't. Bait and switch implies we promised something and we're doing something different. Nobody up here promised that we were going to eliminate Senate Bill 180 or we were going to put restrictions in. In fact, as Nicole pointed out, we specifically said we cannot do that because of, so that's by definition not bait and switch. We get the problem. I would argue, along with Orange County, no board in the state of Florida has put more effort into getting rid of Senate Bill 180. We were one of only 2 counties that went to bat and sued the state over it. We've been up to Tallahassee. We went up to DC and we sat in Representative Stubbe's office, who's working on the Sarasota side, and begged him to work with Rep. Buchanan to try to get something done on the north side of it. We've put a lot of effort into doing it, but we have to do it within the confines of the state statutes and the federal laws and what we have to go. We can't just ignore those things. That I know you want us to do that, but legally we cannot do that, and people can ignore us for trying to ignore it. This is all private property. So we are doing what we can to get rid of this. We've advocated for this hard. We've reached out to our representatives. We reached out to other representatives. We've gone to court over this thing. Nobody in the state has worked harder than we have to get rid of these. And once they're gotten rid of, there's lots of things we've already voted on to do. Put back the wetlands and take away 2128 and increase our impact fees and work on overlays. But we can't do it until this is done. But nobody wants to scream at the state people. Nobody wants to go scream at the federal people. They come here because we are on Facebook. And so this is the easy thing to do, but we're the lowest rung of the ladder. We're the most inconsequential part of this. We get preempted by the state. So you need to talk to the state and say, why didn't you vote? Why didn't you pass a bill to get rid of Senate Bill 180? So our representatives up here, who we can come talk to, can do the things we want them to do, and we will happily do it. And we tried to do it, and we voted on doing a lot of it already, but we can't get them through the state level because of them. So people keep acting, oh, you're hiding behind it. We're not hiding behind anything. Hiding behind it was not to sue them in the first place. We are proactively trying, but we have to go by the law. We can't ignore the law because you want us to. That's not how the law works. So, go talk to your state people. They're having at least 3 special sessions. Go right now. Go knock on their doors. They have offices in these districts, and beg them to get rid of Senate Bill 180. And we will all make a motion to work on MIACA as soon as that's gone, just like we will make motions on lots of other things we're prohibited with right now.
I agree, Commissioner Cruz, you said it well. This, only one point disagreement. I think we've worked harder than Orange County. You've gone up to Tallahassee. We've all, you've been very public, and that's gotten a lot of traction throughout the state for your advocacy against SB 180. We've all gone up there. We've talked to Stubbe about federal protections. Add this one to the list on October 2027, beyond the wetland buffer motion after the SB 180 expires. This board's working hard, but also staff. I get algorithms might reward passing off fake news, but I think the important thing I want to stress is our staff are working very hard at this, protecting all of the greenery, all the green space. I mean, this board approved an emergency $9 million contract to clear 88 canals. I think I'm actually under that. So to say we're not doing anything is patently untrue. We went into our fund outside the budget cycle to get those cleared throughout the county, but in particular District 1, because that's where most of the challenges were. So we've done that. I don't think we can go back and erase, I don't know how many years of challenges that community has faced and our county has faced, but I think the important thing is that we are taking steps, not just saying things on this dais and outside on Facebook or Substack, but actually taking real meaningful action. I'd just like to stress that. To staff and development services, being incentivized to approve development, I think that's a fundamental misunderstanding of government and how development services work. This board and the Planning Commission advise on and approve projects, or not staff. Staff just evaluate our code. So I think the best place for enforcement action and review is development services, because it's the land development code. They live and breathe it every day. And code enforcement being moved to development services to enhance their ability to understand and enforce our code is a good measure of behind-the-scenes changes we've made to make sure that our staff can actually enforce the code. So I appreciate the work you guys are doing. It goes unsung a lot. You hear from residents a lot, get yelled at very directly, more so than board members sometimes. But I just wanted to thank you all for the work you're doing there if you're watching, and know that the board is working hard for the public as well, because we care about the river. We're just handcuffed. Nobody wants to be removed from office over this, and then good luck with the next group of people. It'll be worse, I promise you. So we're working very hard at this, but keep in mind, we're obviously very limited. So I would just appreciate if we can work together to share some of the truth about that, rather than just saying the county is to blame for all these things. And I would definitely encourage you to look at the state races coming up, both in the west and east parts of the county, the federal one that's up, because I think you should push those people to get commitments to protect the environment at their regulatory levels. So I encourage you to do that, and then of course just work with us as we operate under very strict scrutiny and preemptions to do what we can to protect our natural resources. Let's work together, not just debating one another on things I know we all agree on. Commissioner Ron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate your comments and Commissioner Cruz's. I'd also like if we can get staff to go one step further when they bring back whether they're bringing back their monitoring, whatever, because there's 14 miles of the wild and scenic of the MIACA River. Those are also overseen by FDEP, the Manatee River Management Coordinating Council, which includes Manatee, Sarasota, and Charlotte, includes FWC, FDEP, and other local advocacy groups that we have out there in the audience today. But I'd like to see what the monitoring those agencies are doing at the state level to monitor the MIACA River. You mentioned that we met with Congressman Stubbe in D.C., and he's struggling at a federal level to get federal protections of the Sarasota piece of the MIACA River. And so I would also ask them to reach out to their Congress people and states and U.S. senators to get some help at the federal level. But I'd also like to see what the monitoring process is for DEP, SwiftMud, and the other agencies that go along with the monitoring they want us, the citizens, requiring of us to do. So I would like to make the staff aware that if we can get that information too in their next presentation, it'd be great to figure out what those guys are doing at the state level to help us protect the Myakka River. That's it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, thank you, staff, everyone, public, appreciate it. Thank you very much. We'll move on to Commissioner agenda items. Commissioner McCann, item 37, update on the movement of the dogs to the Bishop and jail facilities. Take it away, sir.
Thank you. We asked some questions last time, and the administrator wasn't here at that time, and Brian Parnell couldn't answer all of the questions. So, a couple of questions that are coming out are all the dogs moved now?
They are.
Okay. And are any of the dogs at the jail facility?
Just for the record, Dr. Sina Johnson, Chief Veterinary of Shelter Operations at Manatee County Animal Welfare. And what was the question again?
Are there any dogs at the jail facility, or have they been subsequently moved?
There are still several dogs at the jail facility. They're part of confiscation cases that have court dates pending.
Okay. And how many dogs were injured? I understand dogs were actually cut during the move.
Dogs were not injured during the move. Dogs acquired abrasions several days after the move. We discovered a couple of sharp edges inside of the kennels. The drain covers, which were metal on the exterior kennel, had some sharp edges. We've since removed those drain covers. And there were, I don't know what they're called, but there was these square brackets that connected the kennel doors to the walls, and those were sharp and those were replaced. So now those items are gone. Yep. We have also alerted the manufacturer.
Okay. Who actually moved the dogs, and how were they moved?
The dogs were moved by our staff. Our animal control officers moved them in animal control vans.
Okay. Are visitors allowed now to come back in?
Yep,
Okay. And are the volunteers working again?
they are. We started reorientation in groups as of April 9th.
Okay. And so these sharp edges that were removed, no dogs were actually cut or anything like that?
Yeah, they had minor abrasions, like near their nail beds.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were you present during the actual move?
I was.
Okay. And the dogs were evaluated before they went and after they came back to the kennel?
We evaluate every animal that comes into our facility for medical or behavior issues. So the dogs that were already in Palmetto already received those evaluations because they were available for adoption.
Okay. And after you moved the dogs, they were all evaluated again?
I round daily, so I look at all the animals every day.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was told that we added some shade coverings in the walkway recently. I think I saw some comments. Quite a bit of things of your own volition. What was added? Just curious.
Yeah, quite quickly after the move, we installed a bunch of temporary tents next to the kennels to provide shade for the exterior kennels for the dogs. And then a large tent was placed along the main sidewalk to the play yards, and that's for the people and the dogs.
Got it. No, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
Yep.
And I just want to commend you and the team. I know it's been certainly difficult, a lot of public feedback, but it's not an easy job. So I just wanted to thank you for doing that. I mean, you should see the emails I get, but you get it worse, I'm sure. So let's take a break. Yeah, that's the ones Georgia said anyway. So it's very high stress. I know that can take a toll on mental health for all of our staff. So I just want to say thank you for that. I think yes, I'm not going to call them mistakes. I think there's a lot of challenges we're encountering and feedback we're taking in, and the feedback I'm getting from Charlie and our administrators is that you're evolving, you're taking corrective action, like as you just said, during the move, some of those situations happen. So thank you for that and being transparent about it as well. So I just appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And there's no other commissioner on the board, and so I'll open up public comment.
Victoria Rubietta, Manatee County resident. I was just reading some concerns I had is with the, especially with summer, that the dogs wouldn't have any kind of air conditioning. I volunteered at the Palmetto, and in the summer it was very hot. And if they don't have adequate shade or any air conditioning, how are these dogs supposed to survive in 118-degree weather? I know we had flooding and things, but and a lot of people were looking forward to, this was going to be improvement for the dogs. I don't think they should go backwards. And I'm just really here for the safety and the care of the animals, and hopefully going forward, they're going to get more shade. I read that there wasn't adequate laundry facilities, which I find that hard to believe. I don't know if that's just a rumor, because, yeah, I've been to the Bishop side, which was very, very, very nice with the medical side. So I just want to make sure that the animals are actually being cared for better, and we're taking a step forward. And what's going to happen, like hurricane season and things like that? Are these animals going to have enough water and ventilation and actually places to exercise where they're not going to be burning their paws and dying of heat exhaustion? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I encourage you to talk to our staff, get a tour. A lot of those concerns are being addressed or are already addressed as part of the build out. Anyone else for public comment? Come on up, ma'am.
My name is Kathy Breadwell. I'm a Manatee County resident and a long-term volunteer at the shelter. I was hoping that the new Bishop shelter would be better than I feared. Unfortunately, it's worse. At Palmetto, we were required to get a reactive dog out from the opposite side of its kennel, which was on the side that no other dogs were. At Bishop, due to the narrow and unusable interior aisle, all dogs are required to be taken from their outside kennel. This forces us to get dogs out in close proximity to each other. The reactive dogs are housed in the larger kennels at the ends of each trailer, directly adjacent to the gate to get out. As we try to open the gates, dogs are trying to get to each other, making this a dangerous endeavor for every dog and handler. The next challenge is to get to a walking area away from the dogs. You have two choices to do that. You can walk down this middle section here with 4 rows of barking dogs on either side of you, or you can go up and over these steps. There are tripping hazards all over. The trailers do not have adequate hoses, so hoses are stretched to multiple trailers. The risk for dog bites has risen dramatically. Dogs that used to be visually separated from each other are staring at each other since the dog trailers are lined up in 2 long vertical rows. Even what were easy dogs to handle are acting out. In less than a month, close to 15% of the dogs have deteriorated to the point that they are now labeled black or staff-only dogs, which means they will be handled less and deteriorate more. The drain for the outside kennels is so bad that the cover has been removed. It's less than 2 inches deep. This is what it looks like. And this is supposed to take the waste away, and it's at the front of the kennel. This is what the step down, which is about a foot step down, making it more challenging, looks like now. Our goal used to be to get the dogs out of their kennels 3 times a day. We're struggling to get the dogs out twice. It's not unusual for the morning outs to not be done until 11:30 a.m. The yards are at the far end of the property. It's a long, hot walk to that yard. And these are quickly becoming dirt yards. They're not sprinkled. They're going to be dirt soon. Everything is taking longer due to the poor layout. Can you imagine rainy season, tromping and slipping through what will be mud? There are no laundry machines for the dogs. Donated linens are being used until they are soiled and then thrown out. There's no bathing station for the dogs. I handled a feces-covered dog this week and had to do the best I could for him in a yard without even a washcloth or shampoo. All dogs are predominantly staying in their outside kennels so that they can see activity. Many are showing signs of heat sensitivity, and we're not even in summer yet. I picked up a senior dog late one afternoon for a sleepover. She was heavily panting when I got her. It took her 40 minutes to stop panting. What will the summer be like for her? We must hold the BOCC responsible. This shelter is failing. There are major issues that cannot be fixed.
All right, anyone else for public comment?
Heidi Minikheim, Manatee County resident. Okay. And for afterwards, when you guys rebuttal, don't anybody mock these volunteers. So help me God. So let's go. I show AKC, American Staffordshire Terriers and Labradors. I have to be inspected. If I was inspected and had a facility like this, I would fail. Dirty linens, no towels, dirty dogs, overheated dogs, I would fail and I would be locked up in jail. And yet all of you up there allow this to go on. 15% of the dogs are now labeled, they're now labeled black. This is a losing situation for these dogs. A shelter is, I get it, it's hard. I commend anybody that volunteers in the veterinarian. This is a heartbreaking, gut-wrenching position to be in. We were promised a brick and mortar building and we got disposable kennels. George, I see the look. Don't even. Not only that, when you look at the pictures, there's sandbags holding the tents down. Do you know the dirt and filth, and when you're hosing those kennels down, the bacteria that goes into the sandbags? If I was a breeder, I would be fined and I would be in jail for animal abuse. And yet, this still goes on. When are we going to fix this? And I know that the volunteers are being discouraged for talking to the public. The dogs are spending a lot of time outside. What's going to happen when it's over 100 degrees? The little tiny kennels are like 37 inches by like 42 inches, the inside. That's no bigger than a wire crate, a medium wire crate. And I know none of anybody understands that you guys are not dog people. Unless you live in the dog world, you don't understand it. The kennels are too small. This company that built these kennels have never built dog kennels before. I don't know who put that deal together. And I really wonder what Sarah Brown's credentials are to be managing this. We have no real dog people managing this. You need real dog people, people that know dogs. Let's do better. And don't mock our volunteers and listen to what these volunteers are saying. Look at their pictures and listen to what they're saying. They are hands on the ground, their feet on the ground. They're dealing with these dogs every day. Let's try not to kill more Manatee County Animal Services, Manatee County welfare animals like we've done in the past. Let's try to get these dogs through this and in homes. Thank you.
All right, I'll go to the phones. Caller 908. Or just come on up, ma'am. We'll hold off on the caller.
Good morning. My name's Susan Parker. I'm a longtime resident of Manatee County, specifically in District 3, and I'm also a volunteer. And I recently went for training last week, and I came back for the first time walking dogs yesterday. It was my first time back. And I can tell you, after the second dog, I had to sit down and I was in tears because it was such a terrible setup. And Mr. Sadiq, you commented on the high toll on the mental health of the staff. The mental health of the volunteers is really taking a toll right now too, because it's so discouraging to see what we have to go through. And really and truly, I was afraid for my safety because I had a big dog, and it, like Kathy said earlier, on the end that I had to get past a reactive dog. And the way the gates were, I had no choice, but those dogs were this close together and were fighting on the fence, and I'm trying to pull a 90-pound dog off of them. And I'm strong, but I'm not that strong to have to fight them all day long. So I've gone from taking 4 dogs an hour for walking down to 2 because it's that complicated to get them in and out of the kennels. And because they're so dangerous, and to keep me safe and the dog safe, that's what it takes. Takes a lot more energy, effort. And as far as being just the whole functionality of it, when, like they've said too, with not having adequate areas, easily accessible areas to get to, it is very difficult to go through the obstacle course of everything that we have to do between the stairs, having to reach up to get the dogs. And just for the safety of our residents, and also so that you aren't saddled with lawsuits coming up because of people getting injured while they're volunteering, or dogs that are biting when they could be in a more tranquil environment and have a better success rate than they do right now. Thank you.
John Dunn, Manatee County. How's everybody this morning? Good. You guys can't be proud of this. Like, not one little bit. There's no way you're proud of this facility. And to smirk or walk around while somebody's talking and showing pictures and telling you guys the concerns, where's the intent? You know, where's the attention to these people when they're talking to you about the situations they're in? I have experience in dog training. I've been bit by dogs. And even being an experienced person handling a dog, you can get bit, but you're putting these volunteers, you know, with or without experience into situations that are dangerous for the animal and the handlers. And I just want to see something better done. There needs to be a permanent solution to this. DUNN.
All right. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Julie Madison. I'm a Manatee County resident. Back in January is when I started to come to you guys to talk about some of these concerns. I asked you to pause and evaluate this facility because there were some real issues with the blind corners, with not being able to see out the doors, with not having the corrals, with not having even terrain. We brought all these concerns to you guys. And despite bringing all those concerns, despite asking for a full evaluation of this facility, we were given a Zoom call and said, you know what? We did this for you guys. We did this for your benefit. And everything's fine, and we don't have anything left to take care of. This facility is good to go. And you moved those dogs into the facility without making sure that this facility was safe, even though you were told of the specific problems that needed to be resolved. And it is heartbreaking for me to watch my friends work in a field that I love, and they are falling out of love with it because it is so dangerous. To even bring this facility up to a bare minimum standard should have been done before the dogs were moved. Shade should have been done before the dogs were moved. The AstroTurf in the yards should have been done before the dogs were moved. Dogs are regularly digging out of the yards to go do whatever they want on that property. That is so dangerous for every single person on that property. And I understand that AstroTurf is on its way and coming, but the dogs should not have been moved until that was done, because if you have the AstroTurf in, then the dogs can't dig out of the yards. There are so many things that could have been done to make this facility at a bare minimum a little bit safer. And none of those were done prior to the dogs moving. And I understand, now we are where we are. And there's still things that are being done on a daily basis that are super unsafe for these dogs. So I'm asking you guys to really go in and evaluate this property to see what we need to move forward safely and to budget for a concrete addition to the adoption center that will make this facility workable and usable, because there is nothing that we can do. There are no Band-Aids that will fix this, and we need to make this facility safe and functional for the 450,000 residents of Manatee County that it serves. Thank you for your time.
All right. Anyone else in person? Okay, I'll go to the phones. Caller 908. Or 11. Or not. Okay, go ahead, ma'am. 3 minutes. State your name, county of residence.
Thank you. My name is Sarlene Rose Ferimaki, and I am a resident of Manatee County. I'm also here to talk about the animal shelter, but in reality, it's about getting things right. This is a major taxpayer-funded project, and that means decisions need to be accurate, transparent, and well thought of. Right now, there's ongoing concern of the residents, volunteers, and advocates, not just about the design, but about how the decisions are being made. And when that many people raise concerns, it should not be dismissed. It should be examined, because fixing something now is always easier than fixing something later. One issue that stands out is how expert input has been presented. It has been suggested that you have supported aspects of this project, but from what I understand, there was a Zoom conversation, no formal report. Those are not the same things. And when something is presented as expert backing, the public assumes that the documentation is behind it. If that's not the case, that needs to be clarified. Also, tone matters. In a prior meeting, advocacy efforts were described as becoming unreasonable and even hurting progress. That kind of language discourages people from participating, and those are exactly the people we should be listening to. So stepping back, it's not just about the shelter. It's about the process. It is about the communication and trust. And there are simpler ways to improve that. Pause and reevaluate the key decisions before moving forward. Bring in independent expertise to validate the design. Engage stakeholders in a structured way so that the input is actually used. And be transparent about what decisions are made and why. This isn't about criticism. This is about making sure we do not build something we regret. We have one chance to get it right. Let's use it. Thank you. Sarah Lindros Valley-Mackey, Manatee County.
Anyone else for in-person comment? Seeing none, are you speaking, ma'am? No or yes? Okay, got it.
I'm Patricia Roberts, and I've been a resident here for 50 years. I was a volunteer at the shelter out in Palmetto. I worked with the cats. I did not work with the dogs that much. However, I am a dog lover, had the dogs many times throughout my years, and I am brokenhearted to see what happened with a wonderful donation that the Bishop Foundation made to our community. Somehow, somewhere, those plans were switched around, and we got an El Cheapo version of what we were supposed to get. I'm not surprised that the curtains are around there while it was being put up, because I think there would have been much more of an outcry about what was being provided. Small shelters for larger dogs, or even the smaller dogs. They need room to roam around, to stretch, to make a little home in their little place. But this is not fair to those animals. Haven't you folks had dogs? You can't just put them in a little shelter that's like this much on each side of them and expect them to thrive. I'm brokenhearted to see what these volunteers are going through. I'm too old to handle the dogs anymore, so I just foster cats. But it breaks my heart to see what's happening with these dogs, and you people aren't making any changes. And the ones that are telling you are the ones that are there in the trenches. They know what these dogs need, they know what's reacting, and now I've been reading in the paper with the construction noises starting the first thing in the morning, the dogs are up and out of sorts all the very first thing in the morning. Could you live that way? I don't think so. Please, as a taxpayer, as an animal lover, please do more for our animals. We had the money. I don't know where it was siphoned off to another project or what, but for God's sake, do something for these animals. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, this time we'll just take a 10-minute break, and then I'll get to the phones right after when we're back, so 12:10. Thank you. Back, everyone. I'm just going to turn, we're resuming with public comments and go to the phones. Now we'll get to caller 908. Just a reminder, please stay on topic. Just state your name, county of residence, and you have 3 minutes.
Kristen Martin. I'm a former Manatee County resident and a current business owner there, and felt it was important to speak today about the shelter situation. I was physically in the room back in April 23rd of 2019 when the board approved the new shelter out east and witnessed the full discussion and the approval of the $8 million budget, plus an additional $2 million of which was expected to come from community donations. And I remember the chairman's final words before moving to the next topic: go out and raise money. I took that seriously, and many of us did. I put money in every donation bucket at every event I attended. I did my part because the county asked residents to help make the new shelter a reality. When the Bishop facility was later gifted to the county, the project out east disappeared. The donations that residents gave for that specific purpose were redirected. At the time, I was told it would go to local dog organizations that I already supported in and believed. So I accepted that and said, hey, let's give the Bishop shelter a chance. And to be clear, I don't blame the nonprofit who facilitated that. I know she believed she was helping create a new shelter. But what I cannot overlook is that the county asked residents to donate for a new shelter, encouraged us to take responsibility for helping fund it, and then changed course without acknowledging the commitment that the public had already made. If the Bishop shelter had turned out to be what was promised, hey, I wouldn't be on this call today. For me, the dogs have always been the priority. But the reality is different. The Bishop shelter has been chaotic, unsafe, and not conducive to the well-being of the animals or the staff and volunteers. Repeated reports of safety issues, kennel design and layout are not appropriate for long-term housing or for helping dogs be adoptable. And this is not the standard of care Manatee County residents were promised. The population has changed significantly since that shelter had been approved in 2019. Estimates report an increase of between 85 to 94,000 new residents, and I think we can all agree that the majority of that growth has been out east. And for many of those residents, it's nearly an hour drive to the Bishop facility. That means the current shelter is not serving the geographic reality of the county, and based on what we've seen so far, the rebuilt Bishop facility will still not meet the needs of a county approaching 500,000 people. I'm asking you today to revisit the commitment made in 2019 to find the budget and the will to build some sort of facility out east that truly serves the homeless animals of Manatee County and the residents who care about them. When the county can allocate $7 million for baseball fields, it is difficult for the public to accept that nothing can be done to ensure safe, humane sheltering for our most vulnerable animals. You can judge the heart of a community by how it treats those who cannot speak for themselves. So I am urging you, please do the right thing. Restore trust, restore the original vision, and provide a facility that reflects the growth, values, and compassion of this county. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Caller 480. Hit *6 to unmute. If not, we'll just move on to the next caller, 989, and circle back with 480.
Hello, this is Linda Warner, Manatee County resident and voter. When the prefab kennels, aka the trailers, were installed, I was secretly hoping our concerns about the safety and functionality of the kennels and site layout were wrong. Yes, I was hoping we were wrong. For the sake of the dogs, I was praying the prefab kennels would be okay. But here we are, 1 month after the dogs were abruptly moved from Palmetto to Bishop. Every single concern we have brought to your attention multiple times has come true. 1 month into this. The dogs are escaping from the play yards daily. That never happened, rarely happened at Palmetto. Due to the large gaps between the wire fence and the fence post on the outdoor kennels, dog fence fights are occurring. You know, dogs have been injured, needing medical attention. The dogs are stressed out, staff are stressed out, volunteers are stressed out. The doggy doors are broken, they're not hinged or set correctly. The doors snap back, injuring dogs. Dogs are injured when they move. Dogs are still being injured due to the design and those trailers. The heat, it's so hot. The shades and the tents are helpful, although they are a tripping hazard, but the heat is already becoming unbearable. The dogs are constantly panting. Staff and volunteers have to monitor dogs to prevent them from overheating. I have witnessed firsthand a dog being carried out of his kennel by staff, taken to the medical area due to the heat. And it's spring. If the temperatures are in the low 80s and low humidity, it's going to be unbearable in the summer with all the heat advisories we have. There's tripping hazards everywhere, the tent posts, the metal grates sticking up, the entire terrain. People have fallen. Staff cannot speak out. And I'm not just talking about kennel staff. I'm talking about all staff. A lot of the volunteers are afraid to speak out on these safety concerns. There's no hot water in the kennel storage room. We have to wash the dishes in the cold water in these cheap, small, flimsy utility sinks. There's no place to empty dirty water from mop buckets. You know, these are just hazards. The list goes on. Staff, volunteers, and the dogs are scared. The design of these prefab trailers and layout is so wrong, it's fraught with safety hazards. Waiting for drain studies to be completed to add permanent catch fences with roofs, which is another Band-Aid, is a waste of time and money. The Band-Aids aren't working. These trailers are like a relationship that you know is not working, but you keep trying one more thing, hoping it will work out, but it won't. The relationship is over, dead. It should have never happened in the first place. It's time to admit these prefab kennels or trailers that the relationship is over. They never should have been built. Everyone knows the condition is deplorable, everyone. And I have to believe
Thank you, ma'am.
in your heart you know it is too. I'm not done.
Okay.
We are holding the BOC
We'll go on to
responsible.
caller 454. Just please state your name, county of residence, and you have 3 minutes. Just remember to hit unmute. Okay, we'll go on to caller 800 and circle back with 454.
Yeah, hey, this is David Daniels, Manatee County. I had something I was planning on saying, but I want you guys to really, really pay attention to what these volunteers are saying. There was a speaker a few speakers ago, Kathy Bidwell. She's been a volunteer there for 8 years. She's not a flamethrower. She's a calm. She goes to church on Sunday. She's been a guardian ad litem. She's been a volunteer at the Juvenile Justice Center. She's normally not wanting to speak out, but she put together, she listed at least 10 specific things that are seriously wrong with these prefab kennels. And I want to focus in on one that I really hadn't thought as much about, but this is uncorrectable. The fact that we're only able to take the dogs from the outside means that those dogs are going to stay in the outside. And that's because the inside is so narrow, it's unsafe, so it's not fixable. If I'm a volunteer and I can't see the inside, I can't see if there's pee in there, there's poop in there, there's blood in there, there's a half-eaten toy in there. That's going to bother the heck out of me as a volunteer. But the main problem is when those dogs are outside all day, because they're seeing other dogs being walked. Even if they're only going to be walked once every 6 hours, they're going to stay out there all 6 hours. And that's not fixable. So you can say that this is a done deal, but this does not need to be a done deal. We need to find the money. These trailers were cheap, and it was a terrible decision. And the staff isn't going to say so because they know who they get their paychecks from. They're not going to say, hey, Charlie Bishop made a really bad decision here. These things aren't workable. But the volunteers are going to tell you, and they've only been there for 2 weeks, and they're already telling you. So please listen. Please put your heads together. We deserve a shelter that we can be proud of. These trailers, it's just a terrible, terrible idea. Terrible idea. And you're going to be talking about Mr. Bishop's contract later. We should hold him accountable because the buck stops with him. All right, thank you.
All right. Caller 454 back online.
Charlene Gao, Manatee County. I just want to say that there have been a lot of projects that have been completed in the time that it's taken these pop-up shelters to show up. So, it still doesn't look like an appropriate long-term project. So I just hope that, for the safety and security of the dogs and the people, that we can fix this problem in a meaningful way, and just please listen to the people that are actually doing the job for free and taking care of the dogs. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you. Caller 697.
Good afternoon, Dina Sabo, Manatee County resident, for the record. Calling in to echo what everyone else is saying, and most importantly, I would like to have the question answered on record. Why were the dogs moved after we were told it would take 4 to 5 months for all of the agreed upon safety issues to be rectified? What was the rush? I know Charlie Bishop said that he made the decision with Sarah Brown and Sina Johnson, but I believe wholeheartedly that that decision was made at a much higher level, and the directive was given, and that Dr. Johnson and Sarah Brown have done their best under duress to make that move happen. And it shouldn't have happened so soon. And I'd like to know the reason. And I know everyone listening wants to know the reason. I also would like to thank Kristen Martin for echoing something I've been trying to say. You commissioners talk about all the development having to be out in the east because that's where it's going to be. So let's get the infrastructure going and get a kennel project that was initially promised to be out east. Let's get that going now, because these prefabricated kennels are failing. I'm hearing in real time as volunteers that are afraid to come up and speak are texting me saying there's still issues with the plexiglass doors. The tension is too high. They're snapping back on dogs. They haven't all been repaired. We don't feel safe. It's a landmine to navigate out there with the tents, which everyone is grateful for, but that leaves more poles and more ropes and dogs to get tangled in. There's been an increase in the dogs fighting through the fences. This is dangerous, and this is not unreasonable, what they're saying. And this isn't a matter of trying to shame advocates for being overzealous. These are real concerns. We are trying to come to you and hoping to be heard, hoping for some transparency, and hoping that we can find a way to make this better for the staff, for the volunteers, and for the dogs. This is not what the community was expecting. And I think it's time that there's some accountability taken from the dais about this. What are we going to do, and how is this going to be fixed? The dogs shouldn't have been moved so soon, but here they are. And there's a lot of pressure that's being put on the staff. Did you know that the doors lock automatically and you have to find a staff member to get a key to get into the building if you need to get access to a sink?
Thank you, Dina. Time is up.
We've added, okay.
All right, we'll go to caller 350.
My name is Alicia Hopkins, and I'm a Manatee County resident. I understand this is a frustrating situation all around. It's not fun for anyone to come to these meetings month after month and hear the same frustrations being expressed. But I debated even saying anything at all, but I felt that it's better to at least say something to show another voice in the community that's concerned about what's going on. We've been asked to be solutions-oriented, but how is this accomplished? And genuinely, I'm asking because I'm kind of new to all of this stuff, but it doesn't seem to be that the the voices that are speaking, the people that are there day in and day out, voices of the public, the concerns we're expressing, it seems that we're just told this isn't going to happen, or not even sure if anything that we're saying is factored into decisions. And I mean this in earnest, like I genuinely want to be solutions oriented, but I just don't know how this works. And it's a very real thing that people are expressing fear of speaking up. Volunteers are concerned to express what they're seeing, feet on the street. And that should be really concerning to all of us, because to me, that represents a culture of intimidation and fear, and I don't know how that benefits anybody. So it seems like the Band-Aids are the solution, but I'm just wondering why we can't take a step back to regroup and come up with options that prove long-term solutions rather than ongoing Band-Aids. Thank you for listening, and I hope that we can make some changes to make this a better facility for the community, the staff, the dogs.
Thank you, ma'am. Caller 441. Caller 441, last call. Okay, we'll circle back with them. Caller 47, or never mind, there you go. Or why don't we go back to caller 441? It looks like he figured it out. Or she. All right.
Hello. I hope I got through there that time. There's a double mute going on. But Anthony Shulo, Manatee County resident, and thanks again for the opportunity. I've emailed all you commissioners in the past when these comments have come up, and I asked if you would be interested in doing a video walkthrough of the facility. I think it would benefit a lot of folks that hear a lot of claims. Folks are claiming that the staff is being silenced, and the volunteers are afraid to speak out. We have a great opportunity and a great bunch of folks that can video these things. I just don't know why we haven't come ahead with that to let folks see for themselves. Maybe it's legal reasons, I'm not really sure, but there's clearly things that are identified. If they're punch list items and getting solved as we speak, that's great. I really hope so. But I'm just not sure why we wouldn't want to promote what we have built like we've promoted the other projects in the county. It's maybe not as big of a win as Parish Community Park, but that was promoted pretty well, and it had some problems and punch list items that needed to be resolved upon opening. So I just suggest that you try that approach if you can, because some folks can only go on the statements that they're hearing at these meetings. Maybe they would like to see it for themselves. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, sir. Caller 470.
Hello, my name is Melissa Monarchy, and I'm a Manatee County citizen as well as a volunteer at the dog shelter, and I have been for 3 years. I went to orientation on April 17th, and I saw for myself what the facility is like. Literally, I couldn't see where the cabins, quote unquote, they're really prefab kennels, but they're calling them cabins, were, because you're literally in the middle of a construction zone. And I just wanted to just say I agree with everything that has been stated. We are truly brokenhearted how we feel about this facility. Never in a million years did I think I would say the dogs were better at Palmetto, but here we are. And I know there's no going back. My big question too, and it was asked earlier, what was the hurry in moving these dogs to Bishop? How in the world did you get a certificate of occupancy for these dogs to be moved? But as I stated, the animal shelter is completely in a construction zone, with the dogs hearing every noise, with fences being put up where the walkways to walk the dogs are changed every single day. And the adoption center itself isn't going to be completed till July. And did you know that none of the citizens are able to go into the kennels because it's considered unsafe? Same with the volunteers. We're not allowed to go inside. We can only get the dogs outside, which you have heard. I will tell you the staff is exhausted. Procedures and processes and procedures are being done on the fly. We asked before the move, months before the move, and then all of a sudden down in the middle of the night, what are going to be the procedures, and there were no answers. Again, I just want to state that the citizens are not allowed in the cabins, trailers, because it's a safety issue according to staff, as well as the volunteers. The inside of the kennel is so tiny, a medium dog can't fit in there comfortably, so they hang outside. And now summer's going to come where they're going to be overheated. Currently, there aren't bathing stations, hot water or washer and dryers. Because of this, linens are being thrown out that are being donated by county citizens. And because of this, most dogs don't have any blankets in their kennels because there are no washers and dryers. And more dogs continue to be classified as urgent as they are not adapting to the shelter. And I'm going to name names, Milo and Norman. I want their names to be known. The volunteers are desperately trying to get them out to get training and adopters. But we need your help with this. These dogs are deteriorating. Many dogs that were blue are now to black. When it was asked how many dogs were moved up to black, all we stated with a smile on the face was many dogs have been moved to red, which we know is not the case. There's so many safety hazards that I just want to reiterate. It's an obstacle course out there to walk dogs between steps, construction zone, and rail. Uneven terrain. It's dangerous for volunteers and dogs. Sharp edges. Drains have still not been put back, and the edges around that corners of those gates I still don't think are totally done. There's no shade. Less than 1/4 a yard is shaded. It's a construction zone from dawn to afternoon. Fencing. Depending on the yard fencing.
Thank you, ma'am. Time is up.
So dogs, as
Caller 480.
My name is Veronica DiMaggio. I'm a resident of Manatee County. I have a long history in animal welfare. I was the adoption supervisor of Michigan Humane Society for 5 years, as well as 20 years in animal rescue. I would like to say that I went to the Bishop Shelter on Friday to see how the dogs and what was going on with the shelter. I was directed to a mobile home where I was then told I can either go online to look at the dogs, or I can pick a dog out of their catalog and they will bring the dog to me. I have never experienced this in any shelter I have ever gone to. Adopters should be able to see the dogs in their entirety to get a feel for the dogs to be able to adopt. This is going to cause more euthanasia because the dogs are not going to be getting adopted. They're going to be there longer. They're going to be going crazy in their kennel circling. I have never heard of such a thing in all of my years in animal rescue. Also, I would like to see a third party still oversee what has gone on with the shelter. Look at our Sarasota shelter, a beautiful shelter, solid shelter. They take you back in their kennels. You're able to look at the dogs. Then they'll bring a dog out for you. Look at that model. Why wasn't that looked at? If you can't get University of Florida, go to Sarasota and use them. All I hear right now is that people are hearing the dogs barking from early in the morning because they're stressed. They hear construction. Also, I don't believe the sound barrier in the shelter, in the individual modules, is appropriate. I also ask that charges be dropped against people that their only mission was to make sure that these kennels were safe. We don't have people backing us here, just like I didn't have people backing me for the pet stores, for the puppy mill puppies. And I'm going to call back on that because I was not able to call in this morning. The inspections are not getting done properly. They're not getting overseen, those puppies. There's notices every week of people adopting sick puppies. And that's not getting looked at. And I look at Charlie Bishop and his sidekick, Sarah Brown, are responsible for that. That's all I have to say. Goodbye.
All right. That's all we have for call-ins. I'll close public comment. No one's on the board. We'll move on. Okay. Commissioner McCann, item number 38, we already addressed that, so considering that closed. Item 39, dismissal of trespass charges at Bishop Kennel Facility. Take it away.
Thank you. We have several people now that are emailing me. The charges were, a felony charge at first, and then it became a first-degree misdemeanor, and it's trespass to a dwelling, entered and remained with the intent to commit an offense thereon. Again, these people are now getting people coming to their houses for enforcement. These people are, pretty much being harassed from what I'm seeing. And, it's a shame. I personally think, it's up to the state attorney now. We can't stop the process, but we can certainly recommend that we don't want to participate in this process. And, that, we think the whole thing should go away. This has been such a volatile thing with this that, we don't want anybody accusing, Charlie Bishop or anybody else of retaliatory strikes on this. So, I'm going to make a motion that Manatee County and its vendors shall inform the prosecutor of its intent to voluntarily dismiss its trespass charges and no longer participate in any criminal proceedings regarding actions against any citizens for alleged trespass to the Bishop Kennel facility, and request that the prosecutor dismiss this action. There is no precedent being set here. These are individual occurrences, and again, the thing is that, they were summoned to appear in court on 5/6/2026 at 9 a.m. So I think that, the best thing to calm everything down here, to get everything back, on an even keel, and to stop, harassing, people at their homes and everything else, I would like to make that motion.
Okay, there's that motion, second.
I'll second it, but I'm curious where some of your information, who's harassing anyone at their homes?
Actually, there are people that could speak to that here today, but the thing is that, law enforcement is going out to their homes, looking in their backyards, taking pictures of their cars. I'm seeing all this stuff come on, and, they're emailing it to me, and, being a commissioner, I can't help them right now. And I just think it's unfortunate that this would happen that way. So, I would say that we need to just back out of this. As an attorney, I would definitely take a case like this, but, I'm conflicted because I'd have to depose people from here.
Commissioner McCann, anything else?
That's it.
Okay. I'm on the board, so a couple of things. I don't think the motion, I think you need to, my suggestion is you amend it. We actually don't have authority to dismiss charges. We don't file charges. We submitted a report of a crime happening. But we staff, looking at the footage, now the district attorney is looking at, has filed his charges. So if you look at the complaint in the clerk's court records, which I did, it's Florida v. and so on and so forth. So at best, all you can really do is suggest this board send a letter to Ed Brodsky's office, essentially stating our opinion that he should drop these charges. So, okay.
And now that I'm looking at it, because I'm the second, I don't mean to cut you off, but I don't believe we have any legal ability whatsoever to make our vendors do anything. They're
Correct.
independent of us. So this motion that, as I'm reading it, says Manatee County and its vendors shall inform the prosecutor. I do not believe we, as a Board of County Commissioners, can make a motion compelling third-party vendors to do anything. That would be at their own discretion.
Correct. So you'd have to amend your motion to essentially sending a letter on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners to Ed Brodsky's office to recommend he drop these charges. Or, go ahead, Pamela, you want to clarify?
You could direct me to draft the letter for you.
I'll amend the motion that we send a letter to the prosecutor Ed Brodsky's office saying that Manatee County, the Manatee County Commission and Manatee County don't want to participate in this any longer, and we suggest that the action be dismissed. Again, it's up to them. I understand that. It's the state of Florida versus, the people now in the misdemeanor case. It's out of our hands completely. We are just a complainant saying that, we don't want to participate, and we believe it should be dismissed.
Okay, I'll just close out real quick. Do you accept that second, Commissioner
Yes.
Cruz? Good. Yeah, that's fine. You can just ignore me while I'm talking. That's okay.
I have to take minutes.
Yeah. Do you have any questions? Madam Clerk, do you need anything clarified there?
Was that for the county attorney to draft it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure before I put this up. There you
Okay, so just restating that dismissal of trespass charges, well, that's the item. Motion to direct the county attorney to draft a letter that the board, indicating that the board no longer wants to participate in this case, and that the charges should be dismissed. Sure. go ahead.
Would you mind adding and authorizing the chair to sign same?
Okay, and to authorize the chair to sign and submit said letter on behalf of the board.
And could we also put a date on that, since the court date is 5/6? It'll be done before then, correct?
If the board wants it done, I can have it done tomorrow.
Fantastic.
Okay. All right, I'll just close this out. I'll just restate my opposition to this. I think.
I'm on the board too.
Yeah, and I'll get to Commissioner Ron too. Crime was committed. We're talking about precedents. I don't think people should be trespassing on county property. I mean, we're very open about allowing people to schedule time with our staff so that they can go onto the property. There are clear reasons as to why people shouldn't be on the property beyond exposed panels, unfinished construction, the fact that dogs weren't moved officially by the county at that point, indicating there could have been potential hazards encountered. I saw the footage. Didn't look great, I'll say that. So for a variety of reasons, I just don't think we should be recommending to the state attorney's office to drop these charges. It's setting a bad legal precedent for us that anyone can just trespass at any property without permission, even though we're very permissible when it comes to allowing people to come on their property, really, at the end of the day. We're just condoning crime to happen here. Also, I think the kind of behavior here is very unreasonable. We openly said on this dais, people can easily request a tour of this property once it's done. So I think there are a lot of things said about this property and the kennels prior to it being completed that are just not accurate. And so there's footage on social media, there's a narrative being created that these are not safe, and it's based on footage from people who trespassed on public property and private property. It wasn't even in our hands at that point. To fuel a narrative at a time when, again, this just wasn't ready for prime time. Now it is. So I'm not going to support dropping these sending this letter to recommend to the district attorney to drop these charges. I think the rule of law should prevail, and we'll let these people figure it out in court at this point. Commissioner Ron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think along your same lines here. It's just not this issue. I mean, so the next time somebody breaks into a county facility and we get flooded with emails, is this board also going to recommend they get charged or whatever? And this was a felony. It is a felony to trespass on a construction site. By state statute, it's a felony. So next person that comes up, breaks into a county building or process or whatever, that this board is going to take up again because we get inundated with emails and letters and stuff that we need to drop charges or whatever. I mean, I understand the passion, I really do, and I get it, but they trespassed. It was filed. The sheriff's department was warranted, and I'm going to ask the sheriff also, when we get in this meeting, is his staff harassing these people? And I don't believe that's true. But, dropping charges against someone that breaks into a property, I would not drop charges against somebody that broke into my garage or trespassed on my home property. But I also believe that somebody trespassed on our property, fell and broke a leg or whatever, they would be the first ones in line up to sue us, saying that they broke in, but it was unsafe. So I'm not supporting this. I believe the rule of law should play out, and folks should be held accountable. If they're going to break into a property, they need to be held accountable for the actions that take place after that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner McCann.
I understand where you're coming from, but a lot of your statements are wrong. They are not charged with a felony. They did not find the elements of a felony to be there. Well, again, could have been, should have been. You could have built the shelter out there that was made of concrete and mortar, and they would have never been there. To make those kind of speculations, make those kind of statements is very dangerous. This is an isolated incident. This is not setting a precedent for a board. If we use your example, okay, if somebody commits a murder in Manatee County, then the next thing you know, somebody else could commit one. Somebody else could commit one. Hey, people have been left off in court all the time. Again, you not being a lawyer wouldn't know that. I mean, there are specific circumstances that are excused. So the thing is that, you know, sometimes, you know, somebody won't have a body cam. That body cam's not admissible. They dismiss the charge. Sometimes, you know, and as far as trespass goes, there's a difference between trespass and break-in. Break-in is burglary. Trespass means they walked onto the land. You know, the other thing is that the elements of this crime are to actually commit a crime therein. Okay? You know, if you're going to tell me their intent, you know, then you must be a mind reader. Because I think what they did was walk in there. They wanted to show that this wasn't being built the way they thought it was being built. But there was no intention to commit a crime in there. They didn't go in there and break things. They didn't go in there, you know, and all they did was go in, actually. And the thing is that, you know, had I known that that's what they wanted to do, I would have invited them. But again, thanks for your thoughts.
Commissioner Ballard.
Thank you. So when this came before us before, the direction was to drop the charges. That's not our purview. We can't do that. However, there are plenty of situations, whether it's domestic violence or other issues, where a victim or complaining party chooses to no longer cooperate. I would be comfortable with that. Ultimately, it is the state attorney's decision. It is not our decision. We don't control the vendors. If the vendor wants to continue on participating, that is completely their decision. I would not vote for a letter saying that we believe the charges should be dropped, giving that opinion. I would be fine with a letter saying that we will not cooperate further with the prosecution. If it is giving the opinion, you need to drop the charges, I won't sign on to that.
Thank you. Commissioner Ron.
Again, to Commissioner McCann's point, the signs say no trespassing. This area is designated construction site. Anyone who trespasses on this property commits a felony. I'm not saying that the state attorney said maybe they looked at it differently. But when a sign's posted on a site that says if you trespass, I don't care if they walked in, whatever, they walked onto a construction site that under Florida statute 812.014 says that this is a felony. Sorry, 810.09, sorry. That is a felony. If they're getting charged with a lesser charge, that's good for them. And if that's what the state attorney says to proceed. My point to you is that by Florida statute, going onto a construction site, any construction site, is a felony. If they got a lesser charge, God bless them. But that's the point, is that it was a felony to step on that site, and they got charged with a lesser charge.
Got it. Thank you, Commissioner Ron. Very quickly to Commissioner Ballard's point, my only concern there is it's a different matter for the board to not cooperate than it is for our staff. Our staff, I don't want to put them in a position where they have to say they are refusing to respond to a subpoena, which would likely happen. I'm not a lawyer, but I respect the complexities and the justice system's process on this, and I don't want to put our staff in that position. Again, I would just say let the process play out, let justice do its thing, and we'll see what happens. I will open up public comment now. So if you want to speak, I don't have people signed up, so just go ahead and line up so I know you want to speak on the item, and come on up.
Heidi Manikai, Manatee County residents. Okay, let's talk about this. I believe the four of you up there voted to have Misty prosecuted. She was invited by your employee, Sarah Brown. She has documentation of this. She went there to look at the kennels. She did not break in any building. George, don't even. I'm telling you, George, the looks
Heidi,
have to stop.
Just to cut in briefly, and I'll give you your time. George, hold up.
No.
George, don't comment. Heidi, direct comments to me, please, not to
Okay,
George.
to you.
Thank you.
So you want to prosecute Misty for an invitation which your county employee gave her. This needs to be dropped, and anybody thinks that she should be charged with trespassing, shame on all of you. My name is Kathy Bridwell. I'm a Manatee County resident. I wish this was a non-issue. It shouldn't be, but nonetheless it is. Regarding the trespassing charges against Julie Madison and Misty Evans, from a practical standpoint, this is how I see it. I did not know Julie until after her and Misty's visit to the Bishop Kennels in late December, nor did I know of them planning to do that. From what I see, their site visit was not malicious in nature. They did no damage, and their visit would not have been known had they not shared pictures of the Bishop Kennels. Their fact-finding visit did alert the community of an impending disaster, and that's the Bishop Kennel trailers. Since they made their visit, they were charged initially with a felony, and then it's been dropped to a misdemeanor. It appears the county was directly responsible for those charges. Also, Julie has been harassed, as my understanding is, in relation to her home-based dog training business. Misty I've known for a few years. I've known her to have a heart for the dogs. Should these charges be dropped? Yes, I think so. Should the letter be issued? Yes, I think so. What Julie and Misty are truly guilty of is being whistleblowers.
You ready? Go ahead. Susan Parker, Manatee County resident, and the decision to pursue trespassing, this is about the decision to pursue trespassing charges against Misty Evans and Julie Madison. This action appears to divert attention and resources away from the real issues surrounding the new Bishop facility. Both individuals are longstanding, dedicated advocates for animal welfare in our community. Their efforts to document conditions at the facility were done in good faith, and to my understanding, there were no clearly posted signs indicated restricted access to a construction area at the time of the visit, as the Commissioner just pointed out very specifically what that statute was. But if the trespassing signs weren't there, I'm not really sure how these charges can be even brought against them. Pursuing legal action risks creating the perception of retaliation or deflection rather than transparency and accountability. I respectfully urge you to reconsider this course of action and to dismiss the charges against Misty Evans and Julie Madison. And I understand now that that would have to be rephrased, but support Dr. McCann's motion to request that it be dismissed or however it has to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am Patricia Roberts again, a Manatee County resident. I would just like to make a comment. You were saying that these women were intruding upon a construction site. Well, that's kind of an oxymoron, isn't it? Because they shouldn't have been there. The dogs should not have been there if it was a construction site. It should have been a completed job and checked and given them the okay to bring the animals in. So that's rather strange to say it was a construction site. And I would like to ask you members of the board, if you would go out there, not to take a grand tour, but go out there as a citizen and go in there and see what you think the conditions are for those dogs rather than to just hear it here. Go in and see what it's like. That's my request. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else in person for public comment?
John Dunn, Manatee County. From what I understand, there were no trespassing signs at the time of entry of the property, and she acted as a concerned taxpayer and animal advocate, strong community concern for the animal welfare and kennel safety. So I support Dr. McCann's motion. I respectfully urge you direct the county attorney to draft a letter suggesting these charges be dismissed, and otherwise it feels like criminalizing public oversight. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Julie Madison, and I'm a Manatee County resident. Since I was the only person that was actually there the day that me and Misty and another concerned citizen went onto that property, both me and Misty are volunteers with MCAS. And I do have video evidence that there were no trespassing signs up. We did not enter the clearly marked construction zone. We went onto the property as volunteers to figure out what our standard operating procedures were going to be, to figure out what daily life was going to look like, to understand what that property was going to be. As volunteers, we did this to make sure that we were finding out the best practices. And if we had found good practices, those are what I would have presented. Unfortunately, there were no good standard operating procedures, as your staff and volunteers are finding out in real time. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else in person for public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'll go to the phones. I'll start with caller 800.
Yeah, hi, David Daniels, Manatee County. You know, I was on this site about a week before these ladies videotaped it. I rode up on my bike. It was a Sunday morning. Gates were wide open, so Micron said 3 times that this was a break-in. This place was wide open. There may have been a sign on some fence somewhere, but I sure didn't see it. I walked right up, took a look around. I walked into one of those kennel trailers. It was open. I was just like these ladies were doing. I was trying to get a feel for what it was going to be like. I turned around and started walking away back towards my bike, and then someone came up to me and said, "Sir, you can't." Very polite, "Sir, you can't be here." Fine. I politely continued to leave. If someone would have told these ladies, you can't be here. This is a construction site," they would have just walked away. There's no intent here. What single Manatee County city has been damaged from what they did? We've been informed, but we haven't been damaged. Sorry for this. Does anyone really think ladies would have been charged if instead they would have raved about this facility? If they would have said how great these kennels are? There's no way that Charlie Bishop would have made this complaint. And we say we don't control our vendors, but Charlie Bishop admitted he called the vendor and asked the vendor to join him in making this complaint. So the vendors, they weren't damaged. This is a vindictive prosecution. And it seems like you acting for Manatee County, you're up there acting for Manatee County. This isn't your personal opinion. This isn't Charlie Bishop's personal opinion. This is Manatee County's feelings, and we do not want these charges pursued. This is vindictive. This is petty. This is stupid. These ladies did nothing wrong. And if somebody would have been there to ask them to leave, they would have. Thank you.
All right, caller 454.
Charlene Gow, Manatee County. As other people have said, that there were invitations to these people to come onto the property, and there's no need to escalate this. This feels very much like trying to stifle the public from participating in the oversight of these facilities. Granted, obviously it seems like there's some kind of miscommunication at best. That why on earth would you invite them on the property and then submit charges? If they had given a glowing report, we wouldn't be here. And I appreciate the fact that the Animal Advisory Committee, will become more active and hopefully, reduce the kinds of situations like this. But this is just unnecessary, and I support the fact that you're going to not participate. I know that you don't have any control over dropping the charges now, and I feel like that's the right thing to do. But it should never have gotten there to begin with. it feels like maybe you're not even communicating amongst yourselves, that the right hand and the left don't know what the other is doing. Because if these people have invitations from one staff member and then they're getting charged from another, you all need to improve your own processes so that these kinds of things do not happen. And, charging the public, I mean, the conversation here sounds like you have watched video of them, using a crowbar and gymming a lot. I'm sure you didn't see that. That's not what happened here. So let's just, keep this down and let's try and stop, being so vengeful against the public for making sure that you're doing your job. Thank you.
Caller 837. Caller 837, just hit unmute. All right, we'll go to 983 and circle back.
Yes, hi, this is Elizabeth Arnold, Manatee County resident. I just wanted to say that I'm really sad that this all is going on in the first place. I was very disheartened by the whole situation. Doesn't appear that the ladies did anything that deserved any kind of police action. There was nothing taken. There was no damage to anything. And what I think that further going down this ugly road does is it just fuels public outrage. I mean, honestly, it fuels it because it appears to be a vindictive act against some people that truly had kindness in their heart. And we're worried about animals that can't speak up. So it looks like besides being vindictive, it's going to have a chilling impact. People are going to be afraid to speak up because the next thing they'll be visited by county employees who are looking for issues at their house and things like that. So I don't think this is a road that's appropriate for y'all to go down. I could understand it if they'd done something terrible, written graffiti on something or stolen something, but none of those things happened. They were doing it out of goodness of their heart, and they were trying to figure things out, and they'd been invited. I don't think it's good to have the appearance of being vindictive, especially after you told the folks, the 501c3 companies the other day, oh, we don't want you to feel that you can't speak out because we don't want you to feel that we would ever do anything to you. You can feel free to tell us things. We welcome constructive criticism and opportunities for improvement. But here sometimes it appears that that's not the case. And I think you need to really reconsider how you're going about the business of the county. Thank you.
Caller 350. Caller 350. There we go. Okay, we'll go to 837 then. All right, last call for caller 837.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, Tracy Lifton, Manatee County. First of all, I think y'all meant to say thank you to those people that Charlie Bishop weaponized the local law against dedicated certified volunteers of the land they were walking on. Come on, y'all, using words like crime and breaking in when you know darn well these were Manatee County Animal Services volunteers there to check out the new dog kennels that were invited there by Sarah Brown. Your verbiage is by design to suit an agenda. That's a lie. I mean, embarrassed much about the detrimental to animals and humans prefabricated kennels. That hasn't gone unnoticed, nor has MCAS only potential doctors to make an appointment to see specific dogs. This is not going over well. This is not going to be forgotten. And some of y'all are going to be KBO'd. I promise you that. This is a weaponization of your system against citizens, your citizens, and an obtuse abuse of power. Dr. McCann, I can't thank you enough for being so rational. This is just so irrational and crazy. We should never be wasting time being here. You're wasting taxpayer money and you're wasting people's time, dedicated volunteers of your animals, of your services. They don't get paid. And so they blew the whistle and you weaponize your system against your citizens. I mean, that's just much. This is not going away. This is not going to be forgotten. Shame on y'all. And we see you. And do right by the animals, for God's sake. Thank you for your time.
All right, last call for caller 697. Just hit unmute. There we go.
Hi, Dina Stabo, Manatee County resident for the record. This is a troubling situation because you guys talk a lot about setting precedents when you're up there at the dais. And this isn't the first situation in this county where it feels as though there has been retaliation and that people in power are using that power over concerned residents. You know, this could go back to 2023 when 11 volunteers were fired for simply speaking out against what they were seeing on a day-to-day basis at the shelter. And they were fired, and I was one of them. And then there's this situation. And on top of that, there's not one, but been two new confidentiality clauses that the volunteers have been required to sign in order to resume their volunteer work and walking the dogs at this new shelter. I don't understand why we are working so hard to silence the community. We should be working together, and had the advisory board not been another slow-walked project since 2024, some of this could have been avoided. I would think the majority of it. This doesn't set a good tone. It's not a good precedent to be retaliatory against people that are just trying to speak for the animals that can't speak for themselves. I would like you to collectively look at the entirety of the situation and the climate that surrounds animal services, and let's work on trying to fix that and doing the right thing for the volunteers, the staff, and the dogs. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Caller 363.
Very much for your consideration.
Hello?
We hear you.
Thank you. Martha Jacobs, Manatee County taxpayer, resident, and voter. I was the non-volunteer that went to the shelter on December 26th. I was told that we were going to be meeting someone there from the Palmetto shelter who had been with Manatee County Animal Welfare for 3 years, and that our purpose was to see how things would work there with dogs. So I was there to help handle dogs. I stayed in my car in the road until Misty arrived. There was a Manatee County employee in clearly marked Manatee County truck who stopped and very nicely asked if he could help me. I said I was waiting for someone from the Palmetto shelter and that we were going to be looking through the facilities. He said, okay, thank you. Have a wonderful day. We then ended up spending 2 hours in and around just the shelter area. Again, it was totally unmarked. There were no trespassing signs. There was no blue stuff on the fencing. The gate was not only unlocked, but wide open. And the active construction zone was very clearly marked. We did not enter that at all. I don't know what else I can say. I know this is going to have to play itself out. I'm fine with that at this point. It never should have happened in the very first place. That was nothing but vindictive, nasty, just petty garbage that someone, we now all know who, waited until hearing from Misty and Julie speak at that early January 7th meeting, 6th or 7th, about how many problems there were. And it was within 48 hours that the detective was at my door, or his card, left his card. I met with him many times, spoke with him, emailed with him, and I was appalled when he suggested that I was being investigated for a felony. I understand that one can be charged with a felony in an active construction zone. There was nothing to indicate that it was. The only reason it was still technically considered an active construction zone was that the certificate of occupancy had not been issued. Why were they not signed? Why was the gate not locked? Why was the gate not even closed? It seems to me that this is, again, just nothing but vindictiveness. And in
Thank you, ma'am.
mid-January,
Your
I met
time
with
is
a
up.
detective.
All right. Those are all the hands, so I'll close public comment. The only one left on the board, and we still have a motion by Commissioner McCann, seconded by Commissioner Cruz to direct the county attorney to draft a letter to inform the prosecutor's office, district attorney's office, that we no longer wish to participate in the charges. Very quickly, one, the board, county government did not vote to press charges. That's factually incorrect. Staff have a responsibility to report crimes, trespassing, murder, what have you, on all property. And that's why those charges are filed. Charlie didn't go out of his way to do that personally. To people trying to tie the connection between his contract performance to this is just politicking, especially with political candidates dialing in, not other people. As far as the harassment, vindictive comments, one, take it up with law enforcement, but two, I don't believe any of them were harassing people. In one instance, it was City of Bradenton, I asked. There was an active code violation apparently in one of the former volunteers' homes, so you can take it up with the city on that one. And as far as MSO, I don't have any reason to doubt their performance or to believe that they would intentionally harass anyone. Law enforcement's allowed to investigate a crime. If you have a problem with law enforcement, you can take it up with the sheriff. I'm sure he'd love to have a conversation with you about that. As far as the construction site, facts of the case, you can take that up in court. I think we're well beyond that at this point. If you want to argue about that, you can hire an attorney and let the court case play out. I don't think I've been informed of any records for the video. I don't think we have a problem releasing that. Feel free to make a records request. I don't think there should be any question about what was going on or not going on. And lastly, I think the argument that we're suppressing, hiding, doing anything to intimidate people from commenting on this matter is very flimsy at best, especially when you consider the very critics of our shelter on the advisory board. So my suggestion to those people is to do your jobs. If you want to make a process go better, then when I was texting staff to see when that meeting might be set, then I look forward to the comment. If not, if all you want to do is call and complain to this board, then perhaps you need other people on that board. But we intentionally put some of the most vocal people on that board because that's your way to actually vet this with the community and whatever you want to bring forth about animal services with the community and be part of the solution, not just venting at us in board meetings. So I would encourage people to come with a solution to that board, work it out through the process that exists with your own people, and then let's see what comes of it. I don't think anyone's opposed to any other improvements or ideas, but let's be sensible about it and go through the advisory board. But as far as this matter is concerned, I'm not supporting this. I'll go to Commissioner Ballard.
So just as a potential olive branch, the commission could say that we have no objection to PTI, pretrial intervention in this case. I don't know if that would be acceptable to other board members. That way we can give an opinion, but also balance the opinions of people who say, you know, the law was broken. We want to continue participating.
You want to comment, then Commissioner McGann?
Just for the benefit of the board's understanding, pretrial intervention is a concept offered to certain offenders if they qualify. And depending on the type of intervention offered, in some instances, the charge is dropped after the individual successfully completes the program. So it's as though they had no criminal record. So that is an option that we could include in the letter, a request that they either be considered for pretrial intervention or that we would have no objections to them being considered for pretrial intervention, because usually, based on my experience, the state attorney's office does want to know what the victim's position is relative to a pretrial intervention opportunity.
Thank you, Commissioner McGann.
Personally, I still think it's vindictive, but I'm willing to change my motion to the Board of County Commissioners through letter should instruct instruct the county attorney to write a letter to Ed Brodsky, the prosecutor, saying that we no longer want to participate in any criminal proceedings or actions regarding the citizens for alleged trespass at the Bishop Kennel facility. Then let them fight it out in court. Because all we're doing here is we're saying we're not participating anymore. We're not the ones that are actually, saying the charges should go forward. That's all we're saying.
Can you give me the red line, just because I'm the second, so you're going to have to turn to me.
Yeah.
Can you give me the red line version of what, I don't understand what you're saying, how that's materially different than what's already on the screen.
I'm taking out the recommendation that it be dropped.
So you want to send a letter to Ed just saying, we no longer want to participate in this, and whatever he chooses to do, he chooses to do.
Well, he's got that right anyway. He can choose to do whatever he wants. But I think the inference will be that we no longer want to participate.
So essentially, it's redlining and charges should be dismissed. That sentence, part of the sentence.
Is that what you want? I'm fine with the original motion, honestly.
Yeah, but I heard Commissioner Ballard say that she wouldn't sign on to something like that. I've already heard the other two, are staunch in their vote against it. So the thing is.
I get you. So we're playing, you're trying to find a solution that gets 3 votes.
Yes.
Okay, then if that's what you're doing, I'll support that as a second.
Okay, and is that clear for the clerk? I think so. Okay. Just a question, Pamela, then. What does this practically mean?
I would just like to get some clarity on what you mean by no longer want to participate, because I don't want staff to be in an awkward circumstance where the prosecutor decides to go forward with the charges, and then your staff is faced with a subpoena and being compelled to testify. So it's one thing for the board. I would truthfully feel more comfortable from a legal perspective if you were to say that the letter is to say that that the county as a victim is no longer requesting criminal prosecution, rather than saying that you're not wanting to participate, because then it puts your staff in the awkward situation of if they are served with a subpoena, what are they
We all know
supposed
they're
to
going
do?
to be subpoenaed anyway. We all know that any lawyer worth their salt would make sure that, this goes on, they get subpoenaed, they get deposed. We know this is all going to happen anyway. So the thing is that, unless, the judge just says, I'm not going forward with this, I can't, there is no motion I can make that would exempt, staff from getting subpoenaed or deposed.
So Pamela, could you repeat your proposed change?
Well, would you do me one quick favor and explain to me what would be your comfort level? Because I'm understanding we're trying to get to.
You know what, the original motion is fine.
The original motion?
The original motion,
Just as it was, the original motion?
just as it was.
Okay.
Or the original.
The original.
Well, just to clarify, not the one from the document, we can't do that, but the one we had just before this one.
Oh.
So that was the one where it's directing her to write a letter, to drop charges, to suggest the attorney drop. You had it right that's the one.
Sorry.
Want me to recite it? Sure. The motion is to direct the county attorney's office to draft a letter authorizing the chairman of the board to inform the prosecutor's office of our intent, or of our suggestion that he drop these charges. That was seconded by Commissioner Cruz. Does that sound about right, Commissioner McCann?
That we will no longer participate and suggest that the charges be dismissed.
Okay, if it's in the minutes, then why don't we start moving along then? That's fine. Yeah. I think everyone knows what they're voting on, so.
I just want to make sure I write the letter that the
Okay.
board wants, so I would like to see the motion to make sure I know, because if I have questions
Okay.
about the board's direction.
All right, it basically said that we want to send a letter to the state attorney saying that the Board of County Commissioners no longer wishes to participate in the crime and recommends dismissal of the charges. Correct? I mean, that's
Correct.
roughly
That's
what
the
it said.
motion.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, are you clear, Pamela?
If it's no longer wants to participate, yes.
Okay. Why don't we just do it by voice vote? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, nay? Nay, okay. So that passes with Commissioners Siddiq, myself, and Ron in opposition, Commissioners McCann, Ballard, and Cruz in support of that motion. Everyone else, yes. And Bearden absent. Okay.
I made the motion.
Yeah, I second
Yeah,
it. It
flip
was
that.
McCann motion, second Cruz.
Okay.
That's fine.
No problem. So that, yeah, it'll be reflected appropriately. That was McCann first, Cruz second. Okay. All right, thank you all very much. These next ones should be quick, and then we can just end the meeting. Go to item number 40, Commissioner Ballard, reconsideration of no through truck traffic designation on 37th Street East.
Sure, so I'll be really brief with this. I had several discussions with business owners that live in the area, work in the area, and they had significant concerns about moving forward with no through truck traffic on 37th Street. These are businesses that have existed for a very long time, and they are, generational community businesses, and they also have trucks that are much heavier than I first realized. So those trucks are the weight of the garbage trucks. So anything that would impact a garbage truck or very large transport truck would also impact them. I don't believe that we want to impact those businesses or potentially landlock them or cause them issues in order to have our no through truck traffic. I would be very open to no compression release braking as an alternative on that road, but I can't in good conscience let staff waste their time drafting this when I have no intention to move forward and I'm the one that pushed it in the first place.
Okay. I'm on board. I spoke with the nursery, one business, their nursery there as well, spoke to them about their concerns. I reviewed how we see and classify trucks as a county, and then a little bit about how FDOT classifies and looks at them too. So I think, I agree with you, Commissioner Ballard. There are a lot of people that just don't want commercial traffic at all on the roads, but this is precisely the thing we get dinged over. It's agriculture operations that want to continue to do their thing, and yet you have, in this case, not a lot of new development, but just other communities that don't, and they just want us to shut down the operations that would allow, activities that would allow an agriculture operation from continuing. I get these emails in my district with Tideline and a few other developments voicing complaints about Orban's and Geraldson's. Well, you should have looked where you bought your home. That's all I'll say. I think there's a middle ground with no compression release braking, the noise, I get that. And then the other responses, because there are comments made about dangerous trucks and so on, but I didn't hear any incidents of accidents from our staff. So I think the real solution here is no compression release braking signage, and then someone figures out the enforcement side of it. And then we just have a road maintenance plan to account for the extra usage of those trucks on the road. That's really the path forward there. not blanket banning commercial uses of commercial trucks from being on those roads. They've been there for decades. I don't see anything new there. Do you have a motion?
Sure. So,
Commissioner McCann, go ahead, sorry.
The only question I have is there a certain time when these trucks come? Because, a lot of the things that I hear about, compression breaking noise and things like that, or, if these trucks are coming early in the morning or late at night, that can be a problem. But if they're coming during the normal hours, so I mean, is there a compromise where we could say, no through trucks at a certain time? Because, that seems to satisfy everybody, because I've had that complaint before over in my district where, they say they're waking us up at night, they're making these turns, everything's loud, and it's like, well, what if we didn't shut them down? What if we just, put a time when they can come there, I mean, like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or something like that. And they said that would be fine. So, that seemed to be a good compromise. So I was just wondering if that would be something that you would want.
so I don't want to move forward with that today, just because I'd like to talk to the businesses, see what their operations require, and not put them in a box that disturbs their operations. But I think that's a really great suggestion, Dr. McCann.
Commissioner Ron.
I'll be real quick, George. With regards to this, I mean, in my district, we have on array that goes right through a residential area like Dr. McCann's area is experiencing now. We have the no compression release braking. We had looked at, to your point, we looked at trying to put a time limit on trucks down on array. The problem with an ordinance, if you do that, which we have to do by ordinance, is that the sheriff's department, it's tough for them to enforce certain hours of the day or certain hours of night, or sit out there or whatever. But I understand the concern, I really do. I mean, we have major roads in my district that are going through residentials that are experiencing a lot of truck traffic, especially when I-75 is shut down and they want to get to State Road 70 and cut back up that way or whatever, and then get to 64 or however they do that. But I think putting a specific time area, I think would create problems, not only in your district, it created it in mine. So, but that's it, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ballard.
So my motion would be to reconsider the vote made at the last meeting, which I guess was April 7th.
Yeah.
And to eliminate the ask from staff to bring back an ordinance for no through trucks on 37th Street East. Is that sufficient? And then I'll have a second motion.
I'll second that.
May I jump in?
Yes, please.
Yeah. I know there was a lot of confusion at the last meeting regarding what the direction was, but I'm looking at the summary, which, if accurate, says that the motion that was passed was to authorize staff to prepare an ordinance to define and restrict truck traffic by commercial vehicles on 37th Street East from State Road 70 East to 38th Avenue East, and advertise for adoption the ordinance through a public hearing at a regular board meeting. So if you're wanting to merely tell staff to cease that,
That's exactly what I'd like to do.
then I would say the best and cleanest motion is to direct staff to now cease all action in furtherance of that motion made for agenda item 47 at the April 7th board meeting.
Okay, so I will fix my motion to state exactly what the county attorney just said.
I'll maintain my second there.
Okay.
All right. Any public comment? Seeing none, I will close public comment. There
hold
weren't
on.
any hands raised.
We may
Or
have.
did you? Oh, go ahead, sir. Sorry.
My name is Nick Gherkin. I lived in the county for 40 years. Before you start that timer, could I explain something to you about exhaust brakes? For those of you that are not aware of what they are. I've driven large trucks all my life. I'm just sorry.
Sorry, sir. This is public comment. We have to start the timer. But go ahead.
Exhaust brakes only make noise and are obnoxious with the bup, 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 bup when the operator removes some part of the exhaust system, namely the muffler or the DEP, the new catalysts that trucks have nowadays. Trucks that come out of the factory with the proper exhaust equipment on them do not make noise when you use the exhaust brake. So, for the record, the folks on 37th Street East by no means want to restrict the Taylor Nursery from any kind of business. So let that be number one. We all buy our plants and things from those people. There are other roadways. There's State Highway 301, there's State Highway 70, there's the new 44th Avenue. Let the through trucks use those roadways. I don't understand why you don't, they're built for that. They're curb and gutter. The base is built for that. I supplied pictures for the commission of the degradation of our roadway out there of 37th Street and the fact that you can't get out of your driveway because of the traffic. Trucks hold up cars. The peace and quiet. And again, it's just the through trucks that we're concerned with. Mr. Taylor can have all the deliveries he wants, but how about some weight limit signs? Local deliveries only, something of that nature, something to give us some relief out there from the through trucks, the waste haulers, the concrete trucks, the gravel trucks. Use the state highways, tear them up. Quit beating up our county roads. That's where I'm coming from. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. All right, I have caller 315 on the phone.
John Taylor, Manatee County resident. I appreciate the support that I'm hearing from the community, and I just also want to clarify that we do use 44th and 301, but that still requires us to travel a short distance on 37th as well as along 38th Avenue. 38th Avenue is a little more tight because it has two roundabouts, and with larger vehicles, those roundabouts are snug. And if you were to try and fit a tractor trailer through those roundabouts, the rear of those tractor trailers then curb the sidewalk of the roundabout. I don't know if it's designed for that, but it doesn't fit a tractor trailer well, whereas 37th is a straight turn in. The trucks can then back up, straight turn out. It's in and out versus multiple very tight turns. I am not trying to object to other residents, achieving goals to not have super large tractors. I personally am not seeing these super large tractors unless they're making deliveries to me. So maybe we can collaborate with staff on what an appropriate weight limit is. But again, I don't know what that looks like when I need a delivery and said truck only provides that product on a tractor trailer. Is a cop sitting there waiting to hand out a ticket to the guy who doesn't have an address of where he's delivering and specifically knowing? I just feel like we're getting really in the weeds on something that it's an agricultural area. There's a lot of large vehicles and trailers that need to move through there. And I just don't know how a effective restriction can be put up other than the suggestion of the compression braking. We all have newer trucks, and they have a button on the dashboard now that limits the compression braking so that it is quieter. But that's all I have to say is, we're here trying to support the community and create jobs. We just really can't have restrictions like this or it will impact us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Seeing no more hands, no more public comment, I'll close public comment. I like the idea of just community collaboration with our staff rather than the nuclear option of ordinances, so it's a good suggestion. You can cast your votes on the motion, just waiting on Commissioners McCann and Cruz. All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Would,
41.
hold on, would the board want to consider the no compression release braking today, or should I bring that back at a different meeting?
I think we might need to talk that further a bit.
We'll bring it back.
Okay, Thank you. Then we'll see that come up in a later meeting. Commissioner Ballard, update on ONDCP, the White House Homeless Summit update. Yeah.
No,
what
that's a
we-
different,
Oh, that's different. Oh, sorry, I apologize. I misread that. We'll go to item 41. Commissioner McCann, no compression or release braking signage.
Thank you. This is a motion for Public Works to install no compression release braking signage on Verna Bethany Road. It's a rural road designated as a FDOT detour during construction of the SR 7675 roundabout. As you're entering the portion and exiting the portion of 675 will be closed. The detour is scheduled to begin April 20th and continue for approximately 2 months. Residents in the area have previously requested placement of such signage on Verna Bethany Road, but the issue, wasn't addressed, and now, since they're going to be using it as a detour, they feel that it's very necessary for this to happen. Anybody that rode down 70, I went down 70 the other day, Sunday, and I will tell you that, they had a car stuck in the roundabout, and there was no way out. So the thing is that, this is something they're asking for during the time that there's, actually a detour going on that road.
I'm happy to support that on the board. So I was helping another farming operation out there. They were concerned about vehicle traffic being cut off during the closures. So Chad was gracious to work with that business and others to figure out a solution while the state does construction. So happy to second this. Any comments from the board? No one else on the board? Anyone for public comment? Don't see any hands raised. No one here.
Heidi Minikheim, Myakka City. I live down on Clay Gully, but my parents have a house off of Verna Bethany. If we could get some police out there to police the traffic, because the speeding is horrendous, and it's even worse now, I came up that way. There's a lot of traffic on Verna Bethany, but if we could get police out there and monitor the speeds, because they're bad. That's it, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, seeing no one else, I'll close public comment. Votes have been cast. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Now we're on to item 42. Commissioner Ballard.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to provide a quick update on the ONDCP White House Summit that I was able to attend last week. We do have a quick little video, so we can just play that and then probably move on pretty quickly. I'm guessing you guys won't have a lot of questions.
Well, I just wanted to commend you and our staff for this, but this is awesome to see you lead a delegation up to DC and on this particular topic that you've demonstrated real leadership over. I don't want to gloss over this because we're at the end of a meeting. If anyone's complaining, you can just leave. But no, seriously, thank you. Congratulations. This is awesome.
Thank you, and it was a really great experience, and having the opportunity to have input at the federal level on what our policy looks like on homelessness and addiction. It was an amazing opportunity. Out of this summit is actually going to come a national toolkit that people all over the country, whether it's municipalities, whether it's organizations that are serving people who are homeless or addicted, will actually be able to use for many years to come. So having that work product come out of it, I think is the coolest part. So thank you.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. We'll play the video next, please.
For me personally, it's the connection that we make with our clients. I'm gonna let it shine. And give them dignity and make them feel that they matter, because they do. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. And give them a special place to go and know that they're supported and they have a whole county behind them rooting for them. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
So we are in the White House Executive Office building, and we are participating in a White House Summit on Addiction and Homelessness. Manatee County has really developed some unique and innovative approaches that have really impacted people in our community.
Manatee County was chosen for the summit, I think, for several reasons, but mainly for our initiatives and the success we've had with the partnership from Helping Up Mission.
We have sent 180 Manatee County residents into that program, and our success rates for our Manatee County cohort in Baltimore are actually higher than their typical success rates for their Baltimore-based clients.
I think in terms of that full circle, Commissioner Ballard mentioned the under one roof shelter for women that we're helping to run now as a result of this partnership. We just hired somebody to be a security coordinator there who graduated from the program, who came from Manatee County, went through the one-year program, and is now returned back to the community.
The success and the innovation is really being recognized today.
I hope to bring back to the citizens of Manatee County new knowledge, connections from other areas in our country, and just an overall experience that I can share with even my team and other agencies. And so at the end of the day, it's about human connection.
Really, I think the entire community benefits from this because homelessness, street homelessness it's a quality of life issue, it's a public safety issue, and in the past, the people who actually needed the help, needed the treatment, really weren't getting it.
Our county is just as good as our most vulnerable population, so the more we can help and learn and gain the knowledge and share, the better it will be.
And so I will add a huge shout out to Casey Zempel. He made this amazing video. We had to send it to the feds, and then we actually had to cut out portions to make sure that we were not having anybody from the federal government actually speaking on camera. We had, during the actual summit, we all sang This Little Light of Mine during the convocation from Dr. King. And then we had to cut that out, and our staff actually did a sing-along and re-recorded it to make the video. So the work that that they did was just fantastic, and having Charlie there, taking in all the information, and having our on-the-ground case management staff, our outreach staff, recognized as top in the country was just absolutely amazing, and I think it's a real testament to the work that our community health team does every day. So having Angie recognized in that way specifically was really, really cool.
And when we were up in Baltimore closing out our DC trip, our staff and I stopped at Helping Up Mission, and I got to talk to one gentleman who was from Manatee County going through their program. I think he was 6 or 9 weeks through it at that point, but he's looking really good, so I'm hoping he'll do well. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome job. All right. Nothing there, so, all right. I'll close with this one. So Crime Stoppers, if you're not familiar, it's an incredible nonprofit. They work in partnership with Manatee Sheriff's Office to receive and submit anonymous tips for a variety of crimes. In particular, one recent example was that Mustang driver that caused an accident on I-75. I just couldn't help but notice that Crime Stoppers showed up at the end of it. I think they got the guy too. They did. But Crime Stoppers have been operating for decades, since the 80s. What this is a letter of agreement between this board and Crime Stoppers, authorizing them to tap into the Crime Stoppers Trust Fund monies. So I'm just looking for authorization from this board to sign the letter of agreement, send it to them, and allow them to continue to do the good work that they're doing.
So moved.
Okay, that's a motion by Commissioner McCann, seconded by Commissioner Cruz to approve the letter of agreement. No one else on the board, any public comment? No questions. Just keep doing what you're doing. All right.
I will say very quickly, I did receive a letter of support from Mayor West in Palmetto on this as well. Actually, I don't know if it was a letter or a call. It may have been a call, but.
Oh, cast your votes, sir.
Aye. Aye.
All right, passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And we'll have the hard copy for you in a bit. All right, that brings us to the end of our meeting. Any future agenda item comments? Ms. Minikheim?
I will yell, I promise. I'll make this a good one. Okay, Heidi Minikheim, Manatee County resident. Also, back to the Verna Bethany and State Route 70, if we could get some flashing signs in that area. I'm sure you all kind of came in maybe on Route 70. They had to put like a turn lane in on Verna Bethany just because of the amount of traffic that we have, but it's really dangerous pulling out of there, especially if you're taking a left and heading east. It's crazy. So with all the traffic, if we could maybe get some flashing signs there. But I came to speak to you guys about our water out east. Oh, and I want to thank everybody. It was a wonderful ceremony Saturday, and everybody got to drive out and see how beautiful Mayaca City is, and let's keep it rural, don't perish it. So I want to talk about the water. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but us in Manatee County, Mayaca City, our wells are running low. And you may have heard rumors of this, but this is true. My neighbor, Rob Brown, who is on the Planning Commission, he had to drop his pump like 38 more feet. Our well has been sucking air also. And Parish Well Service and Fell Well Service are the big well companies for Manatee, Sarasota County. And somebody posted on one of our pages about how, are your wells running dry? And everybody's like, yes, our wells are running extremely low right now. And the Parish Well Company commented and said, we've seen this across Manatee and Sarasota County. There are a few different things going on in the Calibro well issues, but basically we are running out of water. Feld also made that comment, so I know we still have 60,000 more homes coming from the previous BOCC that voted in. And remember, we have that big lagoon thing going up off of Moccasin Weller Road that is like billions of gallons of water also. So that, and then we have those two monstrosity golf courses. So just to let you guys know, we on wells are running out of water. We don't want city water. We don't want anything to do with the city, more or less you bringing in water to us. But if we're running low on water, where else is running low on water? So just remember to be mindful when these developments want to come in and put in these cluster housing. It's not only the water that they're using to shower, wash their clothes, and flush their toilets. It's all the water that they're using to water their plants with and their lawns. And it may be reclaimed, but it still comes from somewhere. So thank you.
All right, thank you. I have a hand raised on the phone, caller 480. Caller 480. All right, we'll just get back. There he is. Can't hear him. We'll just get back to him at the next meeting. Okay, anyone else for public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. County Attorney, any comments? County Commissioners, anyone?
Yes.
Commissioner McCann.
I was going to bring up the same thing because I was contacted by the people from District 1 that their wells are running dry. Some people are actually seeing mud now and not getting any water at all. We have a very severe water shortage. As everybody knows, we're in a severe drought. We have a fire weather watch put out an hour ago. We have a red flag warning put out 2 hours ago. So, this is a dire thing when we don't have water and we have all the conditions that'll keep the fire going. So, we have to be very mindful of this, and I just wanted to let the public know that this is happening right now. And, everybody in the county knows, and we're watching the fires. Thank you.
Commissioner Ron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last meeting, we voted on the EDC contract, and I don't know if it requires a reconsideration or not, but going through their contract, I went through it again, and my major concern is that we will be the single biggest investor at the EDC, and we don't have a seat at the executive committee level. I don't know if we have to change the contract or it goes back to reconsideration or whatever, but I would like to recommend that we get a seat, or the chair would be authorized to have the seat, not part of the 60 different board members that are there, but an actual seat voting on the EDC. I know I know they're narrowing down their selections for their new executive director, but I really feel that this would be, we've heard some citizen outcry about the money that's being spent with the EDC, and I'm one of the biggest fans of the EDC process and economic development, and but my concern is moving this forward. So I don't know if county attorney have to advise me if I have to ask for reconsideration of the contract, and then we go back in and renegotiate our position on the executive committee. It's because it's not in the contract. And I think we've signed the contract, but is the contract actually moving forward yet? I'm not sure.
Pamela, and then Commissioner Cruz want to jump in.
Yeah.
My understanding is that you have a fully executed, legally binding contract that you're in right now. And so if you're considering terminating that contract, that would...
I don't want to terminate. I just want to get us to have a seat at the table.
My suggestion then would be to direct your staff to reach out and potentially negotiate an amendment to the contract that would give you the level, that would give the county some sort of position in the table as you speak with this board.
Okay. All right.
Commissioner Cruz.
At no point are we canceling this contract, renegotiating it over a sentence. Prior to this contract, we also did not have a seat on that board. This contract is no different than where we stood before. My understanding in the past, when I sat on the 60-person executive committee, as did you, is the reason Manatee County did not have a super senior seat on the smaller board is because the EDC represents multiple municipalities, and it was unfair to have one municipality have leverage over other municipalities. It would give unfavorable advantage to unincorporated versus City of Bradenton, City of Palmetto, and the island cities that also fund the EDC. So rather than cram that with a bunch of elected officials just bump into each other looking important on their smaller board, the decision was just to keep all of the elected officials off of it and focus it on the investors for the EDC so that all of us on the elected side and the government side were on equal footing.
Want to go back? Okay. Yeah, we serve on a number of boards. I'm on that one. I was at the last meeting. They did vote to put a contract out for a new executive director. I'm not going to reveal who because that's an all NDA. But the chair sits as an ex officio because we don't want the public officials politicizing these business like-minded boards. And yes, while the members of that board certainly are looking to me and this body for direction, I'm hopefully making it clear that at the end of the day, I'm just one ex officio voice. I don't run and I don't want to run. Government should not run this board or any of the business-oriented boards, Chamber of Business Alliance. If you guys aren't doing a good job, we just do what we do last time and pull that contract. But I do appreciate the thought there. Anyone else? We close public comment. You can call in next time. One last thing, very, very quickly. I'll bring this up at the next meeting, but this board met with Bradenton Beach last year. They brought up concerns about the long-term maintenance and ownership of a community library, Tingley, that's privately funded. So I'm going to be bringing that back to the board to consider some options for how our staff can negotiate with the city of Bradenton Beach to figure out what is the most appropriate mechanism of operation maintenance. The short of it is it's a privately funded library that's running out of foundation funds. The city owns the land and they want county support. So I want to be able to bring that to this board, and I think the total dollar amount's about $350,000 that they're proposing. So again, I'll just bring that back to the board on the 5th.
Quick question. Is that like yearly operational costs, or what is that ask?
That is a one-time this year, so they are, and our staff, when we went last year, they assessed it as well. It's the repair of the front and back stairs because they're rotted out, and then a AC unit, which needs to be replaced. So the foundation would historically fund these, but they're running out of money for capital.
So it's really just the capital investment. They'll continue running the operation as a private library?
The bequest, which funded the library, would fund the salaries for the library. They just want the county to come in and maintain the property in the future.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I have there. With that, no one else, I'll close the meeting. Thank you all very much.